Good evening, gamers. Welcome to Xbox Ultimate Podcast. I hope you are all doing fantastic tonight. Thanks for tuning in to Xbox Ultimate Podcast. It's interesting that we can have Xbox Ultimate Podcast when, to many people, Xbox is dead as a brand. You know, it ceases to exist, or maybe soon it will, as Phil's tenure at Xbox. Maybe that's what he will be remembered for, is that Xbox is no longer. We're gonna talk about that. There's it's been about 10 years, I think, since Xbox, since Phil Spencer took over. I think I saw some stuff from some publications about that 10-year anniversary type thing, and a lot of conversation to be had about Big Phil, and everything he's done, and where he might leave the Xbox brand when his tenure's over, or maybe Xbox brand go away before his tenure's over. So there's not a lot of gaming news, so we're just gonna talk about Phil. Let's have a show talking about Phil. Let's he's an important figure in Xbox history, and going forward for foreseeable future as well. And I think maybe he's getting the short end of the stick a little bit on some of this attention lately. So we're gonna have some fun with that. But shout out to the chat. You guys are absolutely amazing every time for being here. Shout out to Lotus Esprit hitting us with a early on KO Hippo super sticker with the $10. You are amazing, and super appreciate that. Shoot you motherfuckers. Let's say hello to the amazing panel here. What's up, Psycho?
What's up, everybody? How is everyone? I hope you're all enjoying your gaming experience. We had a couple great games that has dropped lately. Like Rise of Ronin.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, Dragon's Dogma really has taken storm. Within even the casual community. Working at GameStop, I see a lot of people that are like, I never really play these games, but I just hear nothing but good things about it, so they're trying it out, and it's kind of crazy to see that. And I haven't tried it yet because I'm still trying to get through Unicorn Overlord, so I want to get through that first before I even start this, because I know
big game to get through, man.
Yeah, so I figure I'm halfway through Unicorn. If I just go about it and kind of get through it, and I'll probably be done by about a month.
Yeah. I don't know how you can do that. A game like Dragon's Dogma comes out, I just have to play right away.
Yeah, I bought it. It's sitting here with South Park Snow Day. But Unicorn Overlord is one of those games that I love tactical games, and it's probably one of the best tactical RPGs that has come out in a very long time. And
one of the best ever, maybe, to be honest.
It's really like fantasy tactics. They're two different type of tactics games, but the strategy in both games are really well done. I think they're just setting both, because they're, like I said, they're two different type of tactical games, and they're both in their right really phenomenal games. And don't sleep on Unicorn Overlord. If you have a moment, play that demo, see if you like it. If you do, you can pick up right from the demo and really play this game. Do yourself a favor and really play this. Animation's beautiful, all hand drawn by Vanillaware. Really special. A really special game. And and I did try out that Stampede kart racer. I really can't talk too much because there was a dumb NDA, but really had fun. It's kind of like Fall Guys meets a kart racer, so I'm gonna really say, or can't say technically.
Right on.
I played it for like 20 minutes before work the other day, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And then went to work and came back home and played Unicorn Overlord.
Right on, man. How are you doing, Fuzz?
Doing great. Glad to be here with you guys. Been playing a lot of Dragon's Dogma, like a ridiculous amount. Yeah, enjoying that, enjoying gaming in general. Been playing a lot on my Steam Deck and my PC, and still on my Xbox for Forza Horizon 5, collecting cars, going through a lot of achievements on older titles that haven't bothered with in a while. Fired up Cuphead for a little bit. Fired up Brotato, just trying to get all the characters unlocked and stuff like that. But man, Twitter is its normal self, so it is what it is. But as far as gaming news and gaming future, yeah, there's still plenty for Xbox right now. I just don't understand the, not, I wouldn't say fake concern, but it's like the people that are to the point where, oh, it's dead. No, it's not dead. It's changing. It's almost like, and I stopped myself from posting on Twitter. It's like we should be like proud parents. It's like, when your kids grow up and they move out of the house. It's like Xbox has grown up. It's changing. It's going to now focus on primarily the games on pretty much any platform. So you can either enjoy it or avoid it. I don't know. I'm choosing to enjoy it, especially if they allow Steam access as well.
Yeah.
That would just be like, icing on the cake kind of thing for me. But it is what it is. But still having fun with gaming. That's the main thing that I look forward to, and glad to be here with you guys to talk about it.
Yeah, man. Every week, dude. Appreciate you being here as always. It's been a lot of crazy discourse still. I mean, I don't want to tell people not to talk about what they want to talk about, because I get annoyed when people tell us not what to not say or talk about things, but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, it's kind of annoying to kind of see this constant like negative discourse all the time. You know what I mean? So we just try and do what we can to put our perspective out there, even though there's a bunch of bullshit, stupid articles that don't deserve to exist. Talking the opposite, but we have to kind of just deal with that, I guess. Pong Soul, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good evening, everybody. Happy Friday. Great to see everybody, brothers. Great to be here with y'all and to chat some of this gaming stuff here, even if it is just about Phil. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Chat, great to see y'all. Thanks for being here on another Xbox Ultimate Friday night. But like Fuzzy said, it's just about playing games. It's about enjoying the games. The games aren't going away. Again, gotta question some people out here why they truly are in this hobby and why they're a part of this community. Is it just for the kicks, or is it actually because you're a gamer and you want to talk gaming and you want to be all about that? We talk a lot of different things here. We talk business, we talk speculation, we talk all the other stuff too that goes along with this hobby. But man, if alls we had to do, if we weren't allowed to do that anymore and we could just sit here and talk games, we would still have these shows at the end of the day. But I don't believe that for everybody out in this community. And I certainly have made it quite clear that I don't believe that all the journalists that are in this gaming industry ever pictured themselves being gaming journalists at the end of the day. They thought they were going to be something else. And they just so happen to get a job in the gaming industry. And so they have to write about it, or they have to be with these companies in community management and all that kind of stuff, although it's not really their passion. So we see a lot of that. It's never going to stop. It's never going to end. No matter what happens with this industry, I'm going to be here playing games. And that includes freaking absolutely stellar games like Dragon's Dogma 2, which come along in a year that is already filled with great gaming. Some of the best gaming we've had in a long time across the board. And then you get a game of the year game out in March. In March, for God's sake. So, yeah, I'm 50 plus hours in Dragon's Dogma 2 now. A lot of time spent in photo mode, as you guys have probably seen. But Dragon's Dogma 2 is everything that we had hoped it would be and more. It's not perfect, and we've talked about that. But overall, just from a game perspective, from a enjoyment perspective, man, it doesn't get much better than this if you're an RPG lover, especially a open world Western RPG lover. Dragon's Dogma 2 is up with the best of the best already. It's climbing my ladder, slowly but surely. So let's get down to business, brother.
Special game. Although Fuzzy may or may not have just given my pawn Dragon's Plague. May or may not have. He's not sure. You know, he's told me to keep an eye on him. You know,
Shout
so
out to Decado in the chat who took my pawn for a couple trips and sent her back. Decado, I didn't hit you up on X or anything, but appreciate you, brother. Sent her back with a nice little magic bow that as soon as I open up my magic archer class, which I'm on my way to, but I keep getting sidetracked. I will be using that, Decado, but appreciate you, brother. But yeah, no signs of Dragon's Plague yet on any of my pawns so far. So any of the ones I picked up, I am looking though. I'm watching those eyes for the glow. That's what I'm looking.
yeah. I think Dragon's Plague may have infected some of the gaming journalists out there because they're just ready to blow shit up. I think, I think, I think it's like going around behind the scenes in the community right now, and like journalists and stuff, and it's like they keep giving it to each other, and they keep turning into these like little bitches that just talk about negative shit all the time. I don't know what it is, man, but something's affected people, bro.
You sure that's Dragon Plague and not the clap?
Could be the clap. I don't know what they do on the weekends when they hang out together in San Francisco. You know, it's where a lot of those journalists are, right? So I don't know what they do with each other. Like, I think they're all hanging out. You know, it's what do they call it? The San Francisco Cabal, right? Because that's where a lot of the gaming headquarters. That's where IGN is, and where a lot of the games media is. So I don't know, man. I don't know what they do, but it is kind of infectious. The attitude and the discourse that's been going around. Even so much like I saw Dustin Legary today had made another tweet about Suicide Squad. Well, a day following the fact, there's a little bit of traction picked up on it, and then to follow that up the next day was like, oh, seems like it's dying off. Like, can you give it up already, bro? Like, you've done your damnedest to try and kill this game from the outset, and for your own benefit, obviously, like within traction and trying to get engagement on all this focus because he knows he was a focus about that game to begin with, and then to the point now it's like, let's talk about it again. Oh, nope, not so good again. Like, just like, can people just
People are fucking weird, bro.
move on, bro? You know what I mean? Like, it's so annoying. You got a question, like Pong said, about like why people are talking about this stuff and doing these things, you know, with games media and journalists and all this kind of stuff. It's like they don't actually give a fuck about the games anymore, or maybe they never did, you know. And
It never did.
yeah, it's kind of come to light. I think that for me, like even people in the community I kind of respected the last couple of years maybe aren't what I thought they were also, you know. So I don't know. It's disappointing, but here we are on an Xbox Ultimate podcast, and I want to try and put some perspective on some things because we had an article went around today from VGC. It's an opinion piece. So every games media journalist thing is an opinion piece now, right? This is from Nathan Brown. Phil Spencer, long cast as Xbox savior, may be remembered as the man who killed it. First off, interesting.
What did he kill?
Really eye-catching headline there. You know, let's take a look at what happened during the Phil Spencer era. Right? Okay, so Phil took over in like I think it was like 2014, I believe. After the absolutely disastrous launch of the Xbox One. I mean, we're talking about the low of lows. They had just came fresh off the DRM fiasco. This is how you share games. TV. Third-party publishers starting to sign big deals with Sony and PlayStation to make games either exclusive or have some forms of exclusivity in marketing. Uh, Publishers that were doing deals with Xbox stopped. You had studios getting closed. You had games getting canceled. Kind of sounds like Sony right now. Anyway, sorry, I just that's interesting. I just thought about that. But anyway, you had game cancellations. You had studios getting closed. Everything, and then you had the big. Well, this was after, but you had the big Scalebound moment. But Phil took over at a very down time. So much so that people were actually at this time, I think, thinking that Xbox might be in trouble. In fact, there was actual realness to it at that point because there was somebody at Microsoft that wanted Xbox to go away. In fact, there's probably more than one person, but one person specifically. And it was a battle for them at that point to justify their existence within Microsoft and have a reason to continue when they're just getting their ass kicked left and right at that time. So that's what Phil was kind of handed on his plate. And we look at where they are today. So just for perspective reasons, this is what has happened in the Phil Spencer era. And if you guys have something that you remember, you can add to it. First off, rebuild the community. Because at the time, back in that era, in that time period, there was not communication with the fan base. There was not they didn't even have their like inside Xbox type things that they were doing anymore. You remember like Trixie 360 left, all that kind of stuff, and like they had less like conversations. They weren't doing as many shows. They weren't doing a lot of that stuff, right? So what Phil put down a checklist, right? One of the things is build trust with the community. They put a lot of focus into the community and did that. They at that point said they need to rebuild their first party lineup as well. So they went and they started acquiring studios, but they didn't do that till probably like 2017 or 2018 when they started acquiring.
2018 is when they started.
2018. So it took about 4 years to get to that point.
2017 was Game Pass launch.
Yeah, they came out with a gaming subscription service that changed gaming. They did Xbox to PC. They did cross buy, cross save, cross progression, cross all that, all that stuff. They really changed the ecosystem. Game Pass, then acquisitions. Started off with just with a handful. Then they added another handful. Then they added ZeniMax, Bethesda, and then they've added ABK. So we have all of that. Then they put 4 games on PlayStation. And now Xbox is doomed
closing business
to cease to exist. So, perspective-wise, where Xbox is today, as a pillar of Microsoft, to having to fight for a right to exist at the time, growing into one of the largest gaming publishers in existence, period, having one of the largest ecosystems, period, across multiple devices, having more studios than any first-party platform holder by far, having more games in development than either of the other first-party platform holders, having the best value for gamers and gaming subscription and all this kind of stuff with all those games coming day one into subscription. And then also a reiteration on the future of the hardware and doubling down on the fact that it's going to remain a major focal point and focus on the brand going forward. Where is all this negative conversation coming from? Fuzzy?
I think it all started because of the sharing of games. Like, talk about PlayStation sharing, or this is how you share games. Xbox had their moment, although I think it would have went over better if they used Crash Bandicoot for it. But they put forth their games elsewhere, and I think ever since then, a lot of people are just like they're done with it. They're fed up. The gaming media are kind of celebrating to some extent because they've always kind of wanted Xbox to go to this third party aspect. Like they've said it for years. They're like, "Oh, Xbox doesn't want to make consoles. They just want to do software. They're a software company, not a hardware company." So this is kind of like fitting that image of what a lot of these gaming journalists have kind of wanted. For whatever reason, they clamor over PlayStation, even though their refund policy sucks. The battery life of the internal batteries for their controllers suck. But they overlook all that stuff, or the fact that they get hacked every couple of years, or any number of things that make their overall service a little less than stellar. But you know, for whatever reason, maybe it's even the parent company because the animosity from the 80s and 90s against the Bill Gates, Microsoft, too big. Well, they weren't really the aspect of too big to fail, but it was more like they were too big and too powerful, and the government should have gone in there and broke them up. And they kind of did that with Windows Explorer or the browser way back in the day. But it just seems like whatever people feel about Microsoft, whatever ill feelings, oh, I got a virus because of some sort of file from an email and Outlook or whatever. Now they're going to take it out on Xbox for whatever reason. Oh, Microsoft, they're the only really good Office software that we have to use at the office all the time. Well, every now and then it deletes my document before I saved it. Well, I'm gonna take it out on Xbox kind of thing. But it's just weird to me, considering like what you were saying from 2013 to 2014 range, where they were saying all the wrong things to the public. Now, some of the stuff we look back and it's like, had we just waited and if they communicated better and got their point across as far as why they were doing what they were doing, we'd probably be in a better state when it comes to digital ownership. But, mixed messaging, which has kind of been their Achilles heel all along, but, it just goes to show that they've definitely kind of righted the ship for the most part. They now have a lot of studios. They now have a lot of games in development. Um, there are some other, less than, ideal numbers that we might see for like console sales are down, but that's like across the board. I think Nintendo's the only oddball, but even they're seeing a decline year over year in certain, months and things like that. So economy, all these other factors affect the gaming space. And then, COVID, I think we all kind of realized that a lot of people were working from home and in their spare time, or maybe during part of their work time, were gaming, and there was a lot more demand. And now that people are back in the office or allowed to go on vacations and go wherever, they're gaming a little less. So there isn't as much demand as there was for like during 2020 as there is today. Or there wasn't as much demand now in comparison to 2020. But yeah, I don't know. People just like kicking at or picking on Xbox. They're like the the whipping boy in gaming kind of thing. And that maybe it's because Sony is older in the sense of console space, but Microsoft has been making gaming software for a lot longer, and people
Yeah.
seem to forget.
It almost seems like it seems worse now than before, like because we dealt with this shit for ever since we've been a channel. Like, I mean, there's just always articles or whatever, like doomsday scenarios and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it's because like the Xbox community itself right now, like that was like so kind of together and everything, like seems so fractured and all over the place and just random people going after each other all the time and all this stuff. There's not like this like strong sense of community there, like believing in what they're doing, right? As there was before. And it's like whenever these things are spreading around, like you don't see like people like attacking it or like what the fuck y'all talking about too much or anything like that. It's like everybody's like, yeah, let's talk about how this is like really concerning for us, and I'm like, okay, like I'm just looking at this stuff and I kind of laugh at it because if you actually think about it from an Xbox consumer perspective, right, where you are today and going forward versus what we had to look forward to and going forward back in like 2014 or so. Like, you want to talk about the difference there? I mean, we just literally, like, they just put Diablo 4 in Game Pass and nobody gives a shit, you know? Like, like, and you're going to see Call of Duty, you're going to see all these other things, and it's like, doesn't matter, you know? It's fucking unreal, man. I look at this stuff and it's like where we are today with Xbox comparatively to then. We have such like we're eating so fucking good, bro, and we have so much to look forward to. But there's this doom and gloom constantly that just absolutely like they can't shake, and I don't know what's why that is. Pong Soul, you saw that article, right?
I did.
I mean, is that like what do you feel like about that thing? About like that's what Phil will be known for, is like killing the Xbox brand?
Sure, because journalists will push it. The people that write the history that the masses read will push that narrative if it were to happen. Again, we all know that Xbox isn't going anywhere. But it's an opinion piece, so whatever. But if that were to be the case, and Xbox is the first, as they are right now, in transitioning to kind of what the future is going to look like for everybody, and let's say they're the first to leave the hardware business a couple generations from now, all the stories will be written that Phil started that way, right? They won't give credit where credit's due for the innovation that happened during this time period. They won't credit them if they are ahead of the curve and what they see currently is the actual future of video games down the road. They won't credit Microsoft, Xbox, or Phil or anybody for that portion of it. It won't be until the cool kids switch over that.
That's right.
It's the truth. Nintendo and PlayStation are cool. Again, this happens with Apple. Apple's not the most innovative company in the world. I'm not saying they're bad. I don't like Apple products. I don't like, how Apple does business. I don't like a lot of things about Apple, but again, do they make a stylish product? For sure. Of course they do. But they're the cool kids and everybody writes about it that way. So the same shit's happening here. Xbox had their cool moment during the 360 generation. They had their moment where they were influencing games when they went out and picked up exclusives like Gears of War, the dude bro shooters era. That was the place to play. That was the platform to play them on. And that lasted for almost an entire generation. Towards the end of the PS3 generation, when Sony started making their movie-like games, that's when the mind shift started to change once more back to PlayStation. And the journalists, the professionals, the mainstream media that influences the masses, because the masses still go to IGN and still go to all those places. Even we can harp on them all we want, but they still go there for their info, or their friends do, and they hear from their friends. They decided that video games should no longer just be about having fun. They should no longer be just the dude bro shooter boxes anymore. Like they had to, because again, a lot of these journalists didn't want to be in gaming journalism. They wanted to be in more prestigious types of journalism. They found their way. Well, we're going to promote these movie-like quality games that Sony's producing from their studios, these games with emotions and make you feel and about sad dads and all that kind of stuff. Like they love writing about that stuff. They don't love writing about Gears of War, even though Gears of War certainly has its emotional impact times. They don't care about that shit. They want something that puts them up there with the writers in Hollywood that write about movies and all that kind of stuff. So they latched on to Sony, and Sony became cool again. And then obviously what happened with Xbox One and PS4 happened, and PlayStation capitalized as any good company should. And so went the media. So went the opinions. So went all this stuff. And no matter what Phil does, no matter what Xbox does, even though what they have done coming back from the grave, half buried, literally by upper management at Microsoft at the time, we'll never get the full credit that's due. Sure, there's been some nice articles written about Phil in the past, and Phil's tried to play kumbaya, and he's said a lot of great things and instilled a lot of great philosophies within Xbox that should appeal to a lot of these journalists, and certainly in this day and age in 2024 certainly should be praised for being forward facing, but it's not. It hurts them, as we've talked about. It's a double-edged sword when Phil committed to this, open kind of communication with everybody from the fans up to the journalists. It takes some of the shine off of your company because you don't set yourself above. You're down amongst the normal people. And that could be a great thing. And it could be really good for communication. And obviously it helped in a lot of ways kind of turn their brand back around after Phil took over and kind of pushed Game Pass and all that kind of stuff. But that only lasts for so long. And then once you're down amongst the common people for so long, you could just kind of become, oh, it's just Phil Spencer. Oh, it's just Phil Spencer. We can talk about Phil Spencer however we want to. Phil's just a normal dude. Look at, he's just a normal gamer. We do it here on these shows, but Phil's just a normal gamer. So I can make up these opinion pieces about Xbox. People don't give a shit about Xbox anymore. Look at how they're getting outsold. They're not one of the cool kids. I can write whatever I want. I'll spin whatever Phil says into whatever I want it to be. And so, of course, as they are really kind of changing how they look at this gaming industry, because, again, they're reading Fuzzy's tea leaves, they're looking into the crystal ball, and they're seeing a different future. The journalists aren't going to do that kind of forward thinking. They're not going to, even if they all realize that the industry is changing massively, and that maybe Sony, and to a lesser extent even Nintendo, should start taking notice. And obviously PlayStation is, because they're copying a lot of what Xbox started 5, 6, 7 years ago now. They're not going to count that as credit towards Xbox and them really having their pulse on the industry and trying to do something to make sure that they do stick around, that they don't die like this journalist was trying to claim that Phil was going to wind up being known for as killing Xbox. Again, the console is one thing, right? The hardware is one thing. And even if at the end of the day, you want to look at Phil's tenure and the decisions that's been made over the past year or a couple years, probably internally, even if you want to say that they moved away from the console space, which again, I don't disagree with, right? That they kind of,
it's less of a priority, right?
It's a lesser priority, right?
Yeah.
Even if you want to pull that out and say, oh, Phil was kind of responsible for this moving away of the console, the classic console business model that we got so used to for decades. Even if you want to say that, the only reason why Xbox is still here to this day is Phil. Again, those of us that have been around, those of us that have been paying attention, those of us that will still be living whenever Phil retires, no matter where Xbox is at, will always talk about these times and remind people, right, that there would be no Xbox if it wasn't for Phil and his team that he put together, obviously. Taking Xbox in a different direction, and convincing Satya and Microsoft that this was important enough, the gaming division was important enough to stick around, and not only just stick around like, oh, hey, you guys can keep doing your cute little thing, but actually becoming a huge part of Microsoft. Now, you can disagree whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. You can, certainly, I mean, you can argue if you still want the classic style kind of competition in Xbox like it used to be against PlayStation. But at the end of the day, Phil did exactly what his position is supposed to do, which was make Xbox stronger than it ever has been before as a business. And there is no denying that. So these writers who want to write this stuff, they're never going to stop, because again, it's a proven formula to drive readers and likes and dislikes. It doesn't matter, from both sides, because we know the PlayStation guys love reading bad Xbox news, and we know the Xbox community loves going to these places and just disparaging the writer and going after the news outlets who write this garbage and all that kind of stuff. So it's the best of both worlds for them. Whereas when they write PlayStation articles or Nintendo articles, it's a much more focused kind of group of people that show up. It's not wide ranging. So we're going to continue to get this stuff. We kind of have to get used to it. Again, call it out when it happens. We will, because we see it for what it is. But this article was just one more in a long list of articles that have a very slanted view. They ignore a lot of the history. They certainly ignore a lot of the innovation that Xbox has been a part of since really they became a part of the industry, but especially now from when Phil took over to today in 2024. And they refuse to acknowledge, when they write these things, that things are changing and evolving. And it just so happens that Xbox is doing it first, more so than the other ones. The other ones are playing catch up to what Microsoft and Xbox started long ago. And they won't say it. They won't say it, because then it would lessen the impact of their negativity towards Xbox, and that's not why they're writing these articles. So again, Xbox is just not a part of the Cool Kids Club. It is what it is, whether it's because, like Fuzzy says, there's lingering stuff from the Microsoft of old era still to this day. Could be just the fact that a lot of people are infatuated with technology from the East. I grew up in the era when Sony was king of electronics from over there. And obviously, being in the video game industry, a lot of people think of the East as the birthplace of video games, even though obviously Atari was right here, and they started a lot of this. But again, Nintendo changed a lot of stuff. Nintendo brought the video game industry forward. So a lot of people, still have that nostalgia for the East. And I think that they give a lot more credit to places like, companies like Sony and Nintendo than sometimes is deserved, just because of that love or that infatuation. So there's a lot of different things at play here. It's never going to change. It really isn't, unless something very dramatic happens with PlayStation and they screw up very badly, as they kind of did in the beginning of the PS3 era, or if Nintendo absolutely puts out another Wii U moment, and so people's attention spans kind of shift elsewhere. And if Xbox is doing really well and forward thinking, and some of their initiatives and their hardware that they're thinking about in the future for next gen come out, then maybe Xbox becomes cool again. But right now they're kind of buried as far as popularity goes. And again, doesn't affect how I enjoy them, but for some people, that's all it's about. Right? That's all it's about. Whatever is the big thing, whatever is the hot thing, whatever is the cool thing that all their friends have, their family has, that everybody talks about, they got to be a part of that conversation and say, I own that too. I'm part of this club. Look at me. I got my badge right here, everybody. And that includes journalists. That includes professionals. And that's what we see day in and day out most of the time.
Yeah, man, it's very well said. I mean, it's you hit the nail on the head on a lot of that stuff. I think people miss the mark also on what the gaming industry is when they talk about competition. Because like this old mindset that and a lot of times conversation we're guilty of too. It's like just about consoles, right? Because that's where we all grew up with, and it's crazy though how much we all always say it's not just about console sales, not just about console sales, not just about console sales. We talk about like uh, all the fanboys or whatever that seem to get it wrong, and a lot of this stuff and the arguments and all these kind of things that they make about Xbox and like no games, all these other kind of things, right? But then people say, "Oh, it's just it's just the people on social media or like, the fanboys and all these kind of things." It's not, because you see articles like this in gaming journalism, right? And even if it's an opinion piece by some person that wrote something and submitted it and they ran with it, it's still presented from a big publication in the gaming space, just like a lot of other articles from IGN and other places all the time. So this conversations that we all have, right, regarding gaming and the negativity and the craziness that goes on, even though as much fanboys stuff as gets brought up as it's just console wars, it doesn't matter to the casual market. None of this other kind of stuff matters. If the games media is always pushing the same stuff, it's not just in this community on social media and Twitter space. It's gone to the actual way that these people feel, and it kind of is a reflection on that, right? Because if you see all this games media, all these people talking the same thing, then that's the general perception, right?
That's why Sony's games, and I saw
Yeah.
people in the chat. We're specifically talking about an article in journalism. That's why I focused on that.
Yeah.
I saw Cake Batter say it's not just, if it was just that would be easy fix. It's not just that. But again, like Mav is pointing out, it starts a lot with them to the masses, because again, they're the ones that push the narrative that those third person movie like cinematic type quality story games were the only ones worth playing a lot of the time, right? And they're the only ones that are worth, outside of Nintendo games, which are forgiven for being Nintendo games because it's just Nintendo. But they're the ones, when it was PlayStation versus Xbox, that decided, right, to start giving 9s and 10s across the board to all the PlayStation games that started coming out with that cinematic story, with all this, dazzling display of emotions and writing and all this kind of stuff, whether the gameplay was good or not. And I'm not saying that those games weren't good. Obviously, I love The Last of Us, #1. But again, that's what started this, because then people started looking at the games that Xbox, and again, they didn't have a whole lot of studios, so they weren't putting out a lot.
Yeah.
But they started judging those games differently. And so even though Gears still was of a high quality, even though I disagree with where they took the story, it doesn't matter. Personally, that's still a high quality game. There were still people comparing them to Sony's games. And all of a sudden you saw the gamers stop being so interested in playing those types of games anymore. And all of a sudden it was, if you're not playing Uncharted, if you're not playing Last of Us, if you're not playing those God of Wars, the new God of Wars, well, then you aren't playing the cool game. They're shit. And we see that in the community all the freaking time. I personally love the diversity of Xbox, and I love their games, their first party games now, more so than the Sony games. I still like some of the Sony stuff, but again, I like what Xbox is doing better. But for the masses, for the people, they were all conditioned during the PS4 era to only think that those games were the games that actually mattered.
Because
we still see it to this day.
Sell consoles.
Bro,
right?
you still had portions of the PlayStation community downplaying Helldivers 2 up to launch because it wasn't one of those types of games. That is an actual fact. Even though it's an exclusive for PlayStation, a second-party exclusive, console exclusive, they were downplaying it because it was coming on PC day one, but also because it wasn't one of those narrative games. And oh, it's just going to be a co-op shooter. Oh, it kind of looks mid. It doesn't look AAA. That's the kind of language that you got to realize is used. And again, to Matt's point, the journalism, the writers, the people that, still do influence the masses, and the friends that tell the other people, that's what they write a lot of the time about these games. And we see it time and time again. Again, Starfield is a perfect freaking example. I don't care what you say. They legitimately, a lot of the journalists use very specific language to downplay the size and scope of Starfield and to make it seem like you were getting an inferior product because it was coming from Xbox, even though back in the day, that Bethesda title going multi-plat would have been praised to high heavens no matter what. Okay. Again, Skyrim was barely playable on PS3 and still got 9s and 10. Okay. But all of a sudden, because it's Xbox first party, oh, well, now it's dated. Oh, man. Loading screens? Really? Loading screens? Oh, man. Again, it's those little things that if you're paying attention, you just kind of notice over time that aren't used elsewhere. Sorry, Matt. I didn't mean to dive back in. I've been talking enough.
You're
I'm
great,
just-
dude.
yeah.
I got to get to the super chat from Game Shark. Hit us with a $10. Very generous. Thank you so much. Game Shark says, the problem is us. We give way too much credibility to people who have neither credibility or integrity. Xbox is in the best state it's ever been in. They're a bunch of bitch ass cool arrows. Yeah, I kind of agree in it. Like but it's not just it's people from the Xbox community now too, man. Like,
Well,
it,
I wouldn't say they're Xbox guys, but
well, I mean, like, we were
Some
led
of
to believe, like, for years
That-
that but you get what I'm saying, though. It's like infected like people's minds to be this ultra concerned now. And I agree there's like certain conversations to be had, but like I think that's affected this doom and gloom currently going on more than anything else.
That's a different separate issue for those types of people, right? For the fanboys, it does get different, Mav, because for them, their belief in the product and the belief that these acquisitions were made to compete one for one with PlayStation,
Consoles,
with consoles, the old school way. That belief was so instilled in them and partly again because of Microsoft and the communication, right?
Compete.
They played into that, right? They played into it, right? And whether they changed up, whatever, it doesn't matter. What happened. So those fanboys, those people that are wrapped up in a product like that again, like I said, I don't agree with everything that's gone on in the community since all this started happening, but I can see the gut punch that would happen. That'd be like the Mavericks going out, Mav, and loading up on a dream team, right? And then the owner coming out saying, "Yeah, we don't really care about the championship. We're shooting to get the most all-star. That's it. We don't care if we win or lose, really.
Yeah,
we just want the most all-star. Yeah, we want to sell the most jerseys.
Right.
We want to actually increase the NBA's presence across the world. Because if we do that, it really doesn't matter about the championship. It just matters that the NBA is doing better because that'll be better for all of us, right? That's again to put in sports analogy.
The one thing about the sports analogy is the main difference because the sports analogy comes up a lot with this stuff.
Yes, it does.
That's why in sports, there's one winner at the end.
Correct. There is actually a ring. I've said that before.
Right.
You're not playing for anything here.
So
but I'm just saying from a fanboy's perspective, that's what
of the fans.
Yeah, it should be.
Right. And like when we look at the experience that we're getting and what we have to look forward to, like I'm looking forward to still playing with that dream team that they've assembled. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
And I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm just saying that to a straight fanboy though.
Hey, if we get to go to every fucking home game for $17 a month, I'm even more excited. Let's go. You know how much tickets are these days? $70 a piece, man. $70 a piece for them damn tickets. I can pay $17 to go to every fucking game. Just once a month. I'm down. I'm sick of paying those $70 tickets. Jay Rembert hit us with a $10 super chat. Says, what's frustrating about Xbox is that they have the capability to put their foot on the gaming industry and the competition. They refuse to do so, but to say Xbox is dead is absolutely crazy. And that's what I talking about. I think ultimately at the core of all of this for like gamers and us, when we talk about all this argument, we're so ingrained in like this console war type stuff and mentality that like we don't understand really like the bigger business of it and where Microsoft is now comparatively to the actual competition, right? And we talked about years ago, they're not really just competing with just Sony anymore. They're competing with Amazon, Apple, Google, all these other people for the future of the gaming space. And there's a lot of changes happening, right? So when we look at the overall market, And the market share, it's not. There's two factors you can look at. Just consoles, yeah, they're third place, right? And I don't think that's probably ever going to change now. I thought it had capability before. Maybe there's a chance in the future. I don't know, but like, it doesn't seem like that's necessarily going to change. And then there's actual what they businesses look at is like, how much money are we fucking making and profit are we making on this, right? And how much of the market share do we have in the industry, right? And there, Microsoft is winning, like over these, and they don't get credit for this because like the narrative and the articles and the thoughts are all just about consoles, right? It's like, hey, they're not moving consoles, so they're in trouble. Xbox is going to cease to exist as a brand, even if they keep telling us they're going to keep making hardware for us. Like even the day that the other day on our show when we're talking about what Christopher Dring said after talking to that publisher, it contradicts what Phil Spencer was saying at that same time in an interview about future of the hardware, right? So it's interesting. I want to read this part to you, Psycho, of this article. Okay, just let you react to this because this is the end of the article. Okay, in our world, he spent 10 years and gargantuan amounts of money taking Xbox from third place to third place. And that is not the market's fault. If the writing isn't on the wall for Xbox as a whole, then it certainly could be for him.
Are you fucking kidding me?
That's how the article ends about Phil Spencer. Oh, it is. Maybe I should read more of this article if you want me to, because it is like pretty crazy. Because I think if he's just looking at console sales, then you could make that argument. But once they closed on ABK, Xbox is not in third place anymore. Not in the gaming space, like as a whole. In fact, like
I would
maybe actually third place in what the actual market is. Well, but that would be still above, the console competitors, right? So anyway,
when you look at this third place, if you focus on console hardware sales, third place Xbox, yet they do more revenue and more profit, and now with ABK, that's even more the case. And Candy Crush, Xbox is about to have more revenue and profit than any gaming company right now that are either outside of Pokemon. Xbox is one of the juggernauts in this gaming industry. You cannot deny that. If you deny that, you're only joking yourself, and you're going to just believe the nonsense, especially with that sentence that Jagov fucking wrote. To say spending heaps of money to be going from third place to third place, if you're looking solely at console sales, where Xbox said they're no longer focusing on console sales because they're more of retaining users on a daily basis, subscribing to Game Pass, playing their games. When you look at player count in these games, 20 million, 25 million, 30 million, 10 million, 15 million. Sony wishes that they had that kind of user counts on their games. No one's playing God of War, Ragnarok. There's no 35 million players right now playing that game. There's not 35 million players playing Spider-Man 2. The only game that has any type of player count is going to be Helldivers 2. And that's majority on the PC side, not on the PlayStation side. You know why? Because they've been programmed to believe that single-player, story-driven, cinematic games are the the creme de creme of the fucking gaming industry, and that's all you can speak on. And if your game doesn't look like this, your game doesn't match this model, it's shit. No,
Well, we even see
it's
that like with games like the Dragon's Dogma 2 now. It gets picked on because it has microtransactions, right? But it is like this grand, ambitious thing. It's like so weird, but it's like, oh, fine and pick and choose, man. But like with Xbox, every game
well,
that it's pick and choose what's wrong with
Yeah,
it.
Rise of the Ronin.
Yeah, like I
well,
don't fucking get it.
I mean,
PS
if you
crowd
look,
already saying it looks like a PS3 game.
if you look at Gran Turismo 7, the highest fucking game transact or not monetization with the game. It's insane how much they jumped from Gran Turismo Sport to 7, and the cost of cars dumbfounding, and no one has really talked on this. There are a couple articles here and there, but that's it. Sony literally hid the monetization from reviewers, and no one's like, whoa, what the fuck? But Dragon's Dogma, it was mentioned, and because no one really read, because then here you go,
And it has
because
like
no
the
one really
same as the
reads.
first game too. It's the same
Yeah,
model with it. So.
and no one had an issue then, but now, because it's getting a lot of hype, and we can't have that. We can't have a something that's not solely on PlayStation really getting that limelight, and it's doing well on other platforms. God forbid that games do well, and it's not the fucking Sony PlayStation, the PlayStation formula, and that's the shit that I fucking can't stand when it comes to these. And I will say this: the popular kids, the popular console, everything. You know what else was ultra popular? A must-have product. Remember the BlackBerry? Where the fuck is that?
You could say Atari as well. You know what I mean? So
And that's the thing. Things that are in the right now, it's the hotness, but who knows what happens? The next Xbox, the next Switch could be the next best thing. But it's like they need. It's just weird how these journalists cuck over PlayStation so hard. It's just it's like, just take it out of your mouth, speak on your own merit, and not have this Sony mouthpiece flapping in your when I read an article or hear a fucking trailer, and it's just PlayStation behind you yapping at your fucking out your mouth, and it's like, bro, just shut the fuck up. Literally, I'm done listening to you the moment you're like, this is a masterpiece, and I'm like, really?
Yeah,
This is
it's
not a
like
masterpiece.
it goes like when Keeley said before, like like PlayStation's HBO and like Xbox's basic cable or whatever, and it's like the premium experience and stuff. It's like, okay, whatever you say, bro.
Yeah, but guess what? When you don't have basic cable, you fucking miss it. You fucking miss it. All right.
That's true, man. I miss getting the Mavericks games on fucking regular TV.
Yeah.
Instead, I have to subscribe to a
Pay for
separate
it.
service just to get
Yeah.
Mavericks games and Rangers games and shit like that. Sucks ass. Shout out to Hargeet Channy with the $10 super chat. Shout out to Hargeet's fucking awesome. Says, here we go again. Xbox is dead. All the while, PS is firing execs, closing studios, shutting down PSVR 2, canceling their games of service games, declining profit and market value. Yeah, and mind you, these articles coming out about Phil today and all the conversation happening about Phil today, because this is 10 years, right? Today's Jim Ryan's last fucking day at PlayStation. And you would think, if you were to talk about negativity and where you're leaving a brand with everything that's been happening with PlayStation the last year, especially the last 6 months, right? Then you might want to start talking about, hey, what is the legacy of Jim Ryan? Because today's his last day. He's fucking out. Hiroki Totoki is there. He's actually the one in charge now as of tomorrow. Yet articles written out about how what will Phil's legacy be? The man who killed the Xbox? When all this shit's been happening to PlayStation for months now? That I don't fucking I can't comprehend. I gotta read more of this article from Nathan Brown. Mind you, also, I know this is an opinion piece, okay?
It's a shit opinion.
But every time there's any article from any of these fucking writers or anybody or any of these games journalists, they always say, it's just the person's opinion. Everything's a fucking opinion piece these days. I don't care if it says it's an opinion piece or whatever. If a publisher, a games journalism, a website, or anybody puts the shit out, it represents and stands for what they are all about, in my personal opinion. If IGN puts out a review and it's like a 6 on a fucking masterpiece game, that's a bad review by IGN. I don't give a fuck who wrote it. If they give a game a 10 and it's a piece of shit game, I'm like, that's a bad review from IGN. It doesn't matter who the individual reviewer are. When people see these things and they read these articles or they see these things, it is representative of the opinion of this website or this journalistic place or whatever entity, and that is what gets published out there. People don't give a fuck who Nathan Brown is. Like, they just see it's VGC, right? Just like they'll see something's written by IGN. It doesn't matter who's writing it. If they put it out, they're representing. If I put something out, a video here on our channel, and let's say I let Psycho run with a fucking video. Hey, Psycho, do your video, man. What do you want to do? And like Psycho's like, yeah, PlayStation sucks, and I want to fuck them all in the ass. I don't know.
Wow.
I'd be like, hey,
you sound like
maybe Psycho, I can't put that out because it's not really representative of how I feel about the channel.
What's
and
opinion?
What we're gonna do. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like, look at it. Maybe we gotta tweak about how we're representing things, for our channel, because it's just not necessarily with the reality of the situation or whatever. Like, so I'm just saying that's what the editors and the publishers and the people that make these decisions on what they put up are for.
No, dude.
Right? Like, you get what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah. It's just like assholes. Everyone has an opinion, but no one wants to hear it.
Yeah. That's the chat's fucking back up right now. Fantas Archer with the $5 super chat says, what's bad about toxic actors in this space is we don't value entertainment. We want to be valued as the entertainers, the 15 minutes of fame type. Right? I get that. Like, but that's what the games media, that's with the a lot of the content creators, like sometimes just having a crazy thought or crazy opinion or whatever it is, like as it gets attention, it's good. It's engagement. That's what they strive for, is engagement, the clicks, So if you write a negative article about something and it hits, or you see somebody else do it, right? Oh, hey, that's hot. We need to put ours out, that's kind of like what it seems like at times. And I don't think any gaming executive that is like done more for gaming, especially for Xbox gamers over the last 10 years, gets picked on more than Phil. Right? Like we said, Jim Ryan's leaving. Literally.
Yeah, where's those pieces at? Where are those opinion pieces at?
And it's like, could the VGC wrote an article like basically saying how he fucked PlayStation for the next few years? Where's the roadmap?
Yeah.
Where's the fucking games? Instead, they're writing articles about, hey, what's this PlayStation Pro going to be like? Without any fucking games on it. Remember the years we had to read articles about Xbox has no games? Or when they didn't have a lot of games, they went out and bought exclusivity on games like Tomb Raider and stuff like that. Oh, but then you have negative articles about how that's bad for gaming, right?
Yeah, especially from.
But then that's all that PlayStation has right now for their pipeline. So where's the negativity in the articles about that? It's just like such a contrast to how people are. But this article is just kind of like, I don't know. It's crazy. I'm just going to read this thing, okay? Anybody want to stop me? go ahead and stop me. But it says Phil Spencer spoke to the press at GDC last week, offering some context spin on Microsoft's recent maneuvers while dropping a few non-customary hints about the Xbox's division future plans. I take one issue with this. I am no longer sure Xbox has much of a future to speak of. They literally just fucking bought Activision Blizzard, bro. They closed on it. What do you mean they have no future? Does that not jive in the brain of people that they just spent $70 billion on a company that has a long road ahead of them and all these other games that they're working on as well? I don't understand that. I think Phil Spencer, for so long cast as Xbox savior, may ultimately be remembered as the man who killed it. Speaking to Polygon, which has chopped the interview up into multiple news pieces in the classic early 2010 style, Spencer lamented that the games industry simply isn't growing enough, explaining that all of Microsoft's recent moves, the Activision Blizzard concessions, the decision to take Xbox exclusives to PS5 and or Switch, the layoffs have been designed to counter this unavoidable, irrefutable truth. So this is a fact, according to Nathan Brown here at BGC. Without new customers, Spencer says, everybody else's customer is your success state. You can't succeed unless you draw in customers from other publishers and other platforms. And because you're not finding new customers with the games that you're building, everybody's kind of fighting over the same size pie. Well, that's accurate right now in the gaming space, and especially on the consoles. So that's what Phil's relaying to. When you have an industry that is projected to be smaller next year in terms of players and dollars, and you get a lot of publicly traded companies that are in the industry that you have to show their investors growth, because why else does somebody own a share of someone's stock if it's not going to grow? The side of the business that then gets scrutinized is the cost side. Because if you're not going to grow the revenue side, then the cost side becomes challenged. Now, look, Spencer's right to a degree, and if this were coming from a punter, a rank and file developer at a random game studio, or a modestly successful newsletter idiot, it would be a fair comment. But Phil, mate, I am sorry to have to point this out to you, but you're the head of Xbox. I am not sure you get to pin all of this macroeconomics, this and that. Oh my God, is this Brap? Is this Brap in disguise? He used the word macroeconomics. I'm not sure you get to pin all this on the macroeconomics, this and that, you know. You have had, I think it is fair to say, a degree of agency in all this. Indeed, there are maybe half a dozen people with the power to actually challenge the shape of the game industry. And for the last 10 years, you have been one of them. I do not see much point in dwelling on how we got here because I think it is quite obvious to us all what's gone wrong. All of Spencer's big bets, the pivot to subscriptions, the variable hardware SKUs, the spending spree at studio acquisitions were contingent on Xbox not just being, to borrow the Xbox tagline, the best place to play, but the best place to play the best games. If there's one lesson we can take from the Spencer era is that you can enact all the disruptive change you like, but you cannot disprove this industry's oldest truth. Great games sell consoles. $100 billion later, Xbox still doesn't have them. Do they not?
Consider Starfield a great game.
Is that not a great game?
Not according to journalists. Again, it ain't cool.
Who decides that?
Again, it comes from the media and the masses.
I think the 11 million people that bought the game within, what was that, the first month or something like that, I think they get to decide. I'm pretty sure there's more than 11 million that bought it now. So,
and I don't disagree with that, Fuzz. Obviously, can Starfield be my favorite game of all? I don't disagree with that, but when it comes to narratives and when it comes to, why is my camera off anyways? When it comes to okay, I didn't realize I'd done that. But when it comes to narratives and when it comes to, again, whether real or just because we live in this world so much because we have a different level of interest, it does seem to pervade to the outer reaches of the fandom in the game industry, because all you got to do is look at Cyberpunk, right? 13 million people pre-ordered that game, right? That sold 13 million plus the first week. Okay. Actually, the first couple of days. But because the media, right, was so focused on the last gen versions and blasting the hell out of the, CDPR and the upper management and talking about what a trash game it was and PlayStation pulling it from the store, we now have a situation that 3 years later, Fuzzy, 3 years later, after all the patches, after they launched some amazing DLC, the media starts talking about what a freaking fantastic game this is. The Keeleys give it a Game of the Year freaking nominate. All of a sudden now we got people across social media going, oh, Cyberpunk is freaking amazing. After there was a bunch of us out here going, the game is freaking awesome. Not the last gen, but even the game itself, the stories, the side quests, they didn't change any of that shit. It's all amazing. But the hate train was so strong because the media wasn't covering it that way. The media wasn't standing up for any of it. The media was just slamming it. The hate train rolled and all of a sudden it was down. So I do agree with you that ultimately the gamers, that's why we talk about it, it's you as the gamer who decides whether or not a game is good. Fuck the critics, fuck your friends, fuck everybody else. If you're having a good time, you're having a good time. That's what gaming's all about, right? But still, the overarching kind of sentiment that happens and the feeling that is generated does a lot of the time come from the mass media and come from these articles at the end of the day, no matter what else is being said, unless there's a mass movement, right? Unless the gamers all are like, yo, you guys are all fucking crazy. This game is awesome. What are you guys reviewing? Like, that's the only time we see that shift. But otherwise, it kind of just, it's pervasive, man. It spreads. It's so easy to spread that shit nowadays because negativity draws all the attention. So, I don't know. This is my feeling.
This is why I went so crazy when like the game came out, right? When Starfield came out, and I'm playing this game. I'm experiencing everything that I'm experiencing. And then I'm like, what world am I in that I'm hearing these conversations? You know what I mean? Like, never fucking played something like this before. It was mind-blowing to me what they accomplished with that game. And they didn't get any credit for any of those positive things. Instead, it was like, not enough space exploration. It's a failure, you know? Oh, you have is a loading screen. Where it's so so dated, man. Like, where are we? This is 2023, man. What's going on? You know? And like Mario comes out, it's like fucking revolutionary. You know, you're an elephant now. Holy crap! They changed gaming forever. You can fucking spray water now, and this game's changed so much. Oh, and I love playing it at 720p. Oh my god, yeah, baby, let's fuck this shit because it's the way games should be. Like, cool, man. Yeah, it's a good game. You know,
Spider-Man 2, revolutionary movement and traversal and the greatest thing ever and should be winning all these Game of the Year awards. Why is it not getting all these Game of the Year awards? Why not? And now here we are, less than a year later, and people are being honest about it now and going, well, actually 2018 probably was better. Spider-Man 2 was bloated. Oh, there was issues. But when everyone was pointing out the issues, oh, you guys are forcing it. You guys are just making that stuff happen. This is the greatest thing ever. The SSD is being shown off. Like, listen, it's just, it's a controlled thing that happens. And it starts, like I said, ultimately with the media. Because again, the masses still do read that shit. And it just kind of happens.
Yeah.
Anyways, look at Hi-Fi Rush. Like, it was okay when it was on Xbox. Now it's amazing. Like, let's be real.
But it's
the
a
only real
disappointment
difference.
in sales on PlayStation apparently today that came out from somebody. I don't fucking care.
Who thought it was going to be a fucking million sold? Come on.
Yeah.
Christ. People are so unrealistic these days. But again, ultimately comes down to the fact that negativity gets the attention. This has been, unfortunately, a way of society that started in the local news to the national news. And they found out that, again, car crashes get better traction and people tune in more so than praising, a teacher celebrating their 60th anniversary at a school, right? They don't care. People just don't care about that shit man. They want the negativity. They love it. They thrive off of it for some reason.
Have you seen the movie Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so good, man. It's about that.
So good.
You know, like
Yes. Yes. It is, and and that's what's changed. And again, I've said it many times. Social media just amplified that even more, and we see it throughout everything now. We just really do. The negativity, the doom and gloom, is what brings people to the table.
Controversial topics and conversations,
right?
You know,
right. And there's usually, when you got an industry, right? There's usually one or two that are picked on more than others, and Xbox is the one that's picked on. I don't care what anybody says, and I'm not the Xbox fanboy by any stretch of the imagination here. But at the end of the day, if you can't see it, I don't know what to tell you. Then you are watching a totally different movie on the same screen from me. And again, that happens a lot these days too.
With me especially.
Whatever. You especially. Solo.
What's up, Bob? Man, straight off the heels
What's up, guys?
of a stand-up comedy show, man. How'd it go?
It went good. It was crazy. I was hosting, so that means I was the only one working, but it went really well.
Nice.
Enjoying the conversation so far. I cracked a couple beers. We're getting loose tonight.
Nice. I saw you like exit stage left and you came out of the other door. I guess it's all connected.
That's my favorite thing to do. Yeah.
I was like confused for a second. He teleported. It's magic. Well, is it going to happen again? Oh my God. That's the power of the SSD right there. No loading screen. Nothing. He just walked in and out, and it's possible. He must be running this camera on a PlayStation.
I can't do it without an SSD. I tell you what, I can't load that fast on an Xbox.
Yeah, it was fast. I mean, it's crazy how fast Spider-Man is. You know?
It doesn't matter that I got done with Spider-Man in a weekend and I spent most of my time playing Apex and FIFA. Like, PlayStation's obviously the winner.
What was funny was like everybody was talking about that with Spider-Man, about like the instant loading and all that kind of stuff for like fast travel. And like Crew Motorfest, the new Crew Motorfest came out like right around the same time. And like literally you're doing the same thing in a much bigger environment, and it's still instant fast loading, and you're switching into even changing vehicles and stuff. Like,
well, that couldn't possibly be a cross-platform game, could it?
It is actually. I was doing it on an Xbox.
You can't even do that with your PC, can you?
I was doing it with Ubisoft Plus, which is only on Xbox.
You know, they hate gamers over there at Ubisoft.
Oh man,
it's crazy. You know, and I'm actually moving a lot faster too, because you're in a fucking car. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting. You know, all these things that the marketing they get credit for. But let's what I'm doing, Bob, right now is I'm reading this article. We just kind of stopped to have a conversation because the guy said something really incredibly stupid. But it's his opinion, because it's an opinion piece. Therefore,
everyone has opinions.
It's okay.
We know what we say about those.
Yeah.
No one likes mine. That's why I'm very successful on the internet.
All right. So again, Xbox still doesn't have them, referring to great games. If anything, I would argue its first party output has got worse since the shopping spree began. And its struggles are, as such, no surprise at all. If you talk about 2022, put that in a barrel, I would say sure. But 2021, they were Publisher of the Year. 2023, they had a shit ton of great games. And then 2024, we know that there's like 10 things coming out in the second half of this year, starting in May. And it's no
Mav, everyone knows you don't need to have a roadmap in order to be a great platform.
Less is more. We just need one. It's just one. That's good enough, right?
Sony's earned our trust at this point. Let's be real.
Okay, so just to this point of first party output, what has actually decreased over the last few years? Is it Xbox or is it PlayStation?
A PlayStation.
100% PlayStation. If you're talking about what they were doing beforehand and then moving forward, yeah, we have no games announced for this year from first party.
Well, yeah, and PlayStation's lost their not intuition, their vision to create games when they used to, like PS3 era beginning, they've created so many great games, and they lost their way when they went this cookie cutter style format of games that they've been making, that now they're financially, like, they've put themselves in a tight spot because look what it cost to make Spider-Man 2, and it did not even get near that. I don't think they even covered the cost for making that game yet. And it's just insane that nothing is really wrote about it. No one's really talking about it. Everything's fine at Sony, but yet the fucking building's literally on fire, and no one, with all the cuts, the cancellation of games. If this was Xbox, it would be 100%. People would be, Xbox is dead. There no questions asked if this was Xbox, if it was happening to them, because that was the 100% where that narrative would be going. But because it's that darling, that favorite, they look the other way and be, oh no, it's fine, we'll ignore it because it'll get better. Well, what happens if it doesn't? What happens if they can't get out of this hole that Jim has dug themselves because they haven't innovated gaming like they used to? What are they going to do when they have to close or let go Insomniac? I don't think they're going to let go of Insomniac, but the other teams that...
Yeah, well, I mean, stuff's already been happening this year like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, you see was it Domination Games? Deviation Games, they closed up shop. Or they closed up their, not shop, but they severed ties with them. Look at the London studio. They closed up shop. They closed the Japanese studio, and people were like, oh, everything's fine. When they did that, when they closed the Japanese studio, like 5-6 years ago, I believe it was like 2017-ish when they did that. That is when Sony lost the sight and the innovation to grow and make great games that they used to. They used to they really did make great games, but that's not the case anymore. When you got Last of Us fucking remade 3 fucking separate times within 3 years of putting out games, how is that not a sign of they don't have anything? They're putting out remakes and remasters just to have something because they don't have anything, and they don't want that narrative that Sony has no games, because they know how distraught you see what happened with Xbox. They don't want that, so they would rather remake a game and sell it to you over again, and you guys blindly be like, thank you so much, this is what we wanted. No, it's not. You should stop and be like, listen, why are you remaking this game? Why are you remaking Horizon Zero Dawn? Why are you going to be remaking
It's for
Horizon
for the PC, man. That's why.
Oh, yeah. That's it. They're going to remake it for PC. And that's another thing. They're going to go day and date because they know that will help them financially, because PC gamers don't want to wait to play your game. If the game comes out, they want it to play it the same day if it's available. Look at Helldivers 2. Guess who's carrying that game? It's the PC market, not PlayStation, the PC market. They're the ones that are holding that game up. So PlayStation sees this. That's why Hiroki Totoki said the things he said, and people are, don't mean nothing. He's just a puppet. He's not the real guy. But what happens if they see he's doing a good job, that he's doing what Jim could not do? Because truthfully, Jim Ryan was skirting on the tails of Sean Layden with what the roadmap he laid out, and Jim Ryan was riding the skirt tails of Sean, and this is where we are now. That's why his ass got fucking canned.
He just
Because
doesn't
there's
like to
no
fly,
fucking
Psycho.
roadmap.
He just doesn't like to fly. Come on.
Yeah, bullshit. And I fucking whatever. This is the shit that fucking just needs to be in the media, talked about, and just stop it, fuckers. God damn it. Pissed now.
Grumpy Psycho. Yeah, Fuzzy, go ahead.
I was going to say one quick interjection. What was the whole deal with that Predator game? Like, I guess I wasn't paying attention to it when it was announced.
No.
It was it originally just a money hat for PlayStation and now it's not?
I don't know, man.
Oh yeah, Predator Proven Ground. Yeah, it's coming to Xbox now.
People still play that game. I tried it out when it came out, and I was like, okay, this is cool or whatever. But like,
I don't know. Is it a multiplayer type game?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Are we talking about the one that came out like 2 years ago or whatever?
No.
Or is this a different game? Because there was a Predator game
I
that
thought
came
it was
out.
a new one.
There was a Predator game that came out like, or maybe it was a beta or demo I played. I don't remember, but I played something on PlayStation that was like a Predator thing.
There was, I think, this Predator Proven Grounds came out on PlayStation 4. It was a couple years ago, I thought, and it was exclusive, but it didn't fucking do well at all. Surprisingly, because it's a goddamn multiplayer game. Because PlayStation don't play fucking multiplayer games. Because they were taught to play single player games because they're fucking incels.
Well, Shane says there's a PS4 game coming to Xbox now. Like, cool. Like, I played the game, but it was okay. You know, like I keep seeing people mention this Predator game like it's a big thing, but like maybe it has a chance on Xbox, but like it was like, I don't know. It just wasn't all that to me. It was all right, but it's pretty cool, I guess. Anyway, so Spencer spent part of his Polygon interview musing airily about a dedicated Xbox handheld, which I'm sure seems like a no-brainer in a world where Steam Deck exists, but I imagine it will be an alarming prospect for a development community that is slowly cottoning onto the fact that making games for Xbox is too much of a faff, given the tepid rewards to offer. Man, this guy's brutal, bro. So like basically saying like the development community is not going to want to make games for this Xbox handheld.
Okay.
He's definitely trying to prove a point.
Yeah, so we already live in the world where some developers don't want to make games for Xbox, right? And some publishers skip Xbox. Some of it because of money hatting deals. Some of it just because they can't afford to go do a bunch of multi-plat stuff. But like, and I saw this from Christopher Dring talking about the future of hardware being like problematic for Xbox because like if publishers don't want to put their games on there, that could be the end of the hardware or whatever, right? But like flies in the face of them talking so much about hardware right now. The fact that even Phil's talking about this shows that they have faith in the fact that this is their plan and this is what they're going to do. In fact, I was listening to Xbox 2 a little bit, and Jez was kind of talking about things where they keep reiterating internally about hardware as well. In fact, the division that's working on hardware has multiple prototypes of different things right now working about the future of the hardware platform. This is where when everybody was talking about this stuff, when they decided to take 4 games away and put it on PlayStation or whatever as well. So, not taking away, but like making them non-exclusive things anymore. I was like, guys, it doesn't make any sense for them to leave the hardware space. Just money-wise, it doesn't make any damn sense because there's a lot of people that will still buy one and they make more money for anybody that uses the Xbox store, right? And then also you talk about this other things now potentially with Steam and stuff like that going forward. So.
And the thing with this handheld, if they could go 2 routes. if you don't want to make a native compatible game, they could definitely go on the route of making it streamable, cloud service wise, so you can
I
play
don't
the
want
game
that.
streaming.
I don't want that
No,
shit.
but I'm just saying,
Yeah, I get what you're
if
saying. If they can't put it there, you could have a streamable version that because you can
correct,
you can do cloud gaming on it
so
as
you
well.
can still play the game on the handheld if you want, but make it, it's coming out on the
Yeah.
whatever Series X
It
squared,
for me,
whatever it
if
is.
it's native, it needs to be like spec'd to a Series S to make it as easy as possible for the developers.
Well,
right?
that's the thing. That's where they're gonna have to play.
I'm not a tech guy, so I don't know how that works.
If
I
they
like
could
what-
do a,
I'm sorry,
a
go
series a Series S handheld, spec wise, and have good battery life, and keep it in the under $400 ish range, that right there, because then you compete with the possibly next gen Nintendo. You're definitely beating the Steam Deck market for cost. The ROG Ally and these other handhelds are in the $600 to $800 range, and if it's 1080p plus, not gonna say it's gonna be always be 60 FPS, but if it's a decent, if they get the game to work on it, then at $400, there are going to be a lot of people, especially in that love the Switch. They're going to look at it and be like, "Oh, okay, I can play this, and I can play all these games." And and if the game is not, it's if you can't play it natively because it's too graphically complicated that the handheld, and then but you're able to stream it and still get really good quality because now they're implementing possibly the technology that they got from Bethesda with their cloud market. Things could change and could be like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
At some
There-
point, there will be an advancement with the cloud on Xbox. Like,
100%.
it's been kind of the same for a couple years now, but I think eventually it'll be higher quality.
I think they're working with everybody to make, if you make a game for Xbox, you also have to make it usable on the SDK, and that's the cloud streaming aspect. That's the streaming development kit. Then if games are able to, so they're trying to make all games playable regardless where you're playing it. I think that's where their vision is, and that's what they're working with. And people be like, okay, so I'm not limited to a piece of hardware now. If I can't make it work, I can still make it streamable, and people still can play it. And they're not. It's not the best idea, but you're gonna get a lot of people big. Okay, I could do this,
Yeah.
and they could work something out. Who knows what if they maybe try to do something with like what they do with what's the airplane game? Microsoft
Sim.
Flight Sim, where they have the streaming assets in. Maybe that's what they could do. So this way it offloads from the hardware and it can stream in assets, and it works on that route too. So we'll see.
Yeah. You were gonna say something about the what that guy said, Bob?
Sorry.
you're good.
I was just gonna say I like how there's a narrative around, which Fuzzy was gonna say something too, but I like how there's just a narrative around like the difficulty of developing for Xbox or like different power levels of the different SKUs. Like these developers are not also used to like developing for PC where you're not necessarily guaranteed a certain power level of what your consumer has. Like there's minimum specs that you shoot for, and especially if you have like an engine like Unreal or anything that's already multi-platform, like the engines are designed to be played on pretty much any device and scalable. Like they can implement it if they want to. Like, yeah, it is a money issue. And yeah, it's sad that some of the devs choose to do the bare minimum and shoot for the bare minimum specs. But like, I do think that like basically what Psycho was saying is that I could very much see like a handheld that's similar in power to a Series S, which you see a lot of people running around with these days with a little screen attached. Like that's the next. Honestly, for me, like that would be the future of the lower level console is like a dockable Series S powered device. But
Mhm.
also, when you go down the route of like having that, like the question is whether it's like a walled garden where it's just the console experience or whether
Yeah.
it's more open to be able to like run Windows titles and run games from your other launchers. Because I feel like eventually there's a lot of companies that are going to go down this route, and it's like, do you want to buy a Switch and an Xbox handheld and a PlayStation handheld or whatever is on the market? Because I would rather pay extra just for one device that'll do everything instead of having to have a different device for each platform I want to play.
That's the most interesting thing about the future of the Xbox hardware for me is the
Right.
possibility of that aspect of opening up more, right? Which falls in line with a lot of things that they've been arguing with regulators about open ecosystems and open access for like um, hardware for different storefronts and all that kind of stuff because they want to be more accessible on mobile to for Google or for Android and for Apple, right? So there's all those contests going on with all that stuff, and eventually that might creep into the console space with the
Right.
regulators as well. And they've been trying to get ahead of the game on that and make things open for everybody. But if they do that, they got to be kind of the front runners in it, right? And if they
Yeah.
do that at that point, then you're talking about allowing other storefronts on your hardware. So, but then you got to change what the basic console is at that point too.
And
So that's the crazy interesting thing for me. It's like where does that go?
yeah.
You know?
Well, that speaks to like the fact that all of these decisions that they make, like Microsoft is a gigantic company that's
Yeah.
very well versed in all these issues. Like there are deeper reasons than what your average
Yeah.
consumer is going to think of or your
Not
average
just
gamer
about
is
a
going to think
console
of.
box and selling
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Which ultimately they don't want to just have a console. They want like Microsoft's main goal from 2001, like Bill Gates' dream was to have a PC in your living room. Like that's really what they want. So, I mean, yeah, it sucks that we've grown accustomed to and we love our Xboxes, but if we're going to survive moving into the future, or if Microsoft's going to have a strong platform, which even to count Microsoft out in the gaming space is completely ridiculous because, like I say all the time, games are made and also majorly played on PCs to begin with. Like, you don't build games on Apple devices, maybe Linux. I don't know enough about it, but like, when it comes down to it, like there's a lot of reasons why they're doing what they're doing. It's they don't care about the console war per se. Like they want to be competitive. They want to make money. All of these companies want to make money, and these arguments are completely irrelevant. Like we have to think more of like why they're doing what they're doing and whether or not they're serving the needs of what we want in our gaming platforms. And at the end of the day, for me, consoles are always going to be and should be the value proposition. It should be the most valuable place to play your games. Like it's not the true enthusiast experience. And to sell a walled garden at a premium is going to run to the end of its leash pretty soon. And to speak to what like Psycho was saying earlier, like PlayStation is continuing to do this. Jim Ryan's there to collect on I'm going on tangents, but I'm almost done. Jim Ryan's there to like collect on all this goodwill they built up over the last decade. His job was to make the money, and they're not listening to the customers anymore. They're trying to dictate what they want the market to be. But the question is, like, how long are they going to get away with it? Is like, I feel like we're going to come to a turning point eventually. If they don't react to what the customers want, then they're going to run out of like all that goodwill that they stacked up.
Yeah. It's like if I were to try and translate this to like shoes or something, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a sneakerhead, so I don't know how this works.
Which
right?
one last thing to make that make sense. Like at the end of the day, Phil is a gamer and he listens to the Xbox talks about listening to the community, and he's approaching it not only as a businessman but a gamer, where you don't see that from Sony. That's the other part I left out. But
yeah,
sorry.
No,
sneakerhead Mav, let's go off.
Yeah, so it's like it's a weird analogy for me because I'm not a sneakerhead, right? But like Nike's super popular or Jordan brand or whatever, right? So like they'll come out the next big shoe, it's collectors, rare shoe or whatever, and it's like, oh, this is the best. You know, all these people want it because it's cool. You know, ultimately that's what it comes down to. It's like the cool thing to own, but they have a track record of, you know, it's cool because quality, because like style, all this kind of stuff, and that's kind of what PlayStation had become in the gaming space. Is the cool thing to have, you know. But let's say that Nike changed their manufacturing and everything with the quality was shit now, right? That goodwill will last for a while, but eventually people will catch on and be like, you know what, these things fucking suck. They're falling apart. Like there's like nothing here, or like the style's not good anymore. Like they're not coming out with as many, like all that stuff that eventually somebody else has more of a chance to kind of take a hold, right, on the space if they do things right. But that's kind of where PlayStation is right now to me, is they're fucking up, right? But like the people that are seeing it aren't super invested into being ultra fans of it. You know, the people who are seeing it are like, hey, this is like not good. You know, I want to like this, you know, but you're not giving me a reason to. You know, the people are like, oh, it's still the best. You know, it's fucking like everything they've done so is amazing. You know, they're gonna figure it out. Everything's all right. Then you have like a company come out producing like great fucking quality, right? Giving better prices, you know, having more options and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, that's the Walmart brand, you know. We don't want that, you know. But to think about how a company can turn around, and again, I'm taking it to fucking apparel and shit. Champion.
I was about to say like Champion or Carhartt.
Champion, man. Champion was the fucking shit of apparel, of like anything, and all of a sudden, randomly, it was like, I was like, why is all these fucking people wearing Champion shit all the time now? And I'm like, okay, it's cool now. It's cool. They improve things. Like that's awesome. You know, I like Champion.
When we were young, we'd probably get made fun of for wearing Champion.
Yeah, if we were
like
Champion,
Nike or
like
something.
in high school, like people would be like, "Oh, that guy's poor." You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's just kind of the world we lived in, you know. But now it's like, hey, this is like the cool shit. Champion has had a big turnaround. Anyway, so it's possible with anything, you know. So not everything always gets a free pass forever.
Just need the Kardashians to start playing Xbox, and it'll become cool.
They tried that. Xbox, remember, like they tried sending all this shit to all these celebrities and all this stuff.
Oh, yes, I know, but I'm saying that's what turned Champion around.
Snoop Dogg loves his Xbox.
Oh,
still,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. And
Cat Williams likes Xbox.
Hell yeah.
He doesn't like Kevin Hart though.
LeBron James plays his Xbox.
Yeah.
He was in a PlayStation commercial.
The Rock.
Yeah,
There's a
well,
lot of
'cause he
famous
got paid
Xbox
to.
fans. Snoop Dogg.
They pay him to play PlayStation.
I tell you, if you ever end up at any of those P. Diddy parties, all they have is PlayStation. It's bad news.
Yeah, Brett
Cat
Biggins
Williams
says,
owns 18 Xboxes to be exact. And I beat all the games with my eyes closed.
now look at this. I can't believe I own this fucking hat, but I do. You know what I mean? Like I actually own a Champion hat. You had tell me 10 years ago I'd ever own a Champion hat. I'd be like, that's never gonna happen. I wear it. I love it.
Different
It's
for
good
me.
quality.
Champion was an expensive brand in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, the 2000s
And then they
they
went
went
cheap.
to shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm like, wait a minute. I remember people wearing Champion. I was
Well,
like,
it's like Reebok. You know, Reebok was big for a while, and now like
Yeah.
it's like nothing. You know, but anyway.
yeah, I had tons of Reebok pumps.
Oh, yeah.
The Shaq basketball shoe, and then I had their walking shoe and their running shoes, and yeah,
I needed
it was a
I
mess.
needed those to dunk, man. I couldn't dunk without it.
I've always been shaped like this, but I put some pumps on my feet. Damn right, I'd
Oh,
run
man,
faster and jump higher.
For me,
I kept pumping those bitches until I could do a pull up, and it never happened.
people would believe I was a skinny little motherfucker in high school, man. Like, I fucking like you could see my rib cage, dude. I was like, my parents used to get into arguments because my dad didn't think my mom was feeding me. But yeah, No, I like. I was a little bit of an athlete. I could get up there. I could touch the rim, touch it. I think I dunked once, but it was with the Reeboks. That's why. Anyway, so let's get back into this. GI Biz Chris String returned from GDC with tales of publishers questioning their future support of a platform that bakes in so much risk. A dominant subscription service cannibalizing game sales, the need to ensure parity across Series S and X, further increasing sky-high development costs, and offer such a small audience in return. Now you want a handheld version as well? Best of luck with that. So he's talking about the Christopher Drink thing when he said he talked to one publisher that released a big game last year saying they don't know why they make games for Xbox because the audience is PlayStation and PC. Anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, who's that publisher? Who's the big publisher?
I think
Big
it was
in
Larian.
what
I think it
sense?
was. I think the game was Larian. That Larian Baldur's Gate 3. Because the other things that Dring was talking about in that, talking about Series S development issues and stuff like that, it just came across like it was. But I would almost bet that game sold better on Xbox than PlayStation.
I'm sorry that your studio is so underfunded that you don't get the extra time and money to optimize for all platforms.
Brett Bingham says, you may not believe this, but Reebok was big because of Peter Moore. Yeah. Yeah. I remembered, man.
Oh, that's crazy.
Learning about that when he took over for Sega. So he goes on to say, now that all his big bets have failed, have all of Phil Spencer's big bets failed?
I think they're just starting to pay off, honestly.
I mean,
Yeah.
is Game Pass failed? That was a
No.
big ass bet.
I
As
mean,
a-
$4 to $5 billion of revenue every year is just like something that is just fucking not enough. Like becoming the third largest revenue source for one of the largest companies on the planet. Like that's obviously
Such
a failure, you know?
Man. Yeah, they just closed on ABK late last year, right? Has that had a chance even to fail yet? Has that failed? That's the biggest bet of them all by far.
And they haven't even been able to see the fruits of the labor with games, Activision games in Game Pass to see if it is going to work in the favor or will it stifle sales. Like you let it breathe, give it another year or two.
Yeah.
And before you start putting shit on other platforms and making these bigger decisions, let your dream roll out and see what fucking happens. Jesus.
Yeah. So, Spencer is turning to corrective measures, short-term fixes that might juice the numbers in the next couple of P&Ls, but seem destined to further weaken the Xbox ecosystem down the line. I kind of agree with that sometimes, with a little bit of taking the games and putting them on other platforms. It is a little bit of a short-term kind of thought process there, but we'll see what happens. Bring the likes of Epic Game Store and itch.io to Xbox consoles would confuse the value proposition.
Oh.
Pong,
I
somebody? No, go ahead, Fuzz. Yeah, that's fine.
I was going to say the only way I could see it confusing it would be, well, if I buy games on Steam but play them on my Xbox type of thing. But just having access to the early access games that are on Steam that never come to console, or the ones that take years to come to console, would be a big value proposition right there. And if you're already gaming on PC, gaming on console, the value proposition is there. You'll have access to your library, whether you want to play it on your TV or you want to play it at your computer desk. I don't know. I think it's telling on how uncomfortable some of these journalists are with what that future is, even though they might be living it to some extent between playing on PC and playing on their PlayStation. But because PlayStation isn't talking about access to Epic or access to Steam, they got to find a way to nitpick at Xbox. But if it was to happen at PlayStation, like if they announced it tomorrow, it'd be the greatest thing since sliced bread type of deal. But it's, if you, like, the way I look at it, I have my Game Pass subscription for my Xbox. I have my Steam account, which I game share with my sons. I have a library at both ends of the spectrum, and I can play most of the Xbox Play Anywhere or any of my Xbox Play Anywhere games on my PC. So I still have access to my library either way, whether I sit in front of the TV or sit in front of the monitor. It doesn't diminish anything. If anything, it makes it easy to figure out, hey, I can choose where I want to play, whether it be on PC, a handheld, console, and then having access to the biggest PC library. No, that I don't see how that would confuse the value proposition. If anything, unless the people can't add or subtract or multiply or whatever. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm gonna finish this sentence here, and then I want to get Pong's thoughts on this. It says it would confuse the value proposition, give users more ways to give money to people that aren't Microsoft, and do nothing to transform Xbox's fortunes.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that the closed system obviously has been around for decades, obviously for a reason. There's a reason why Apple does it. There's a reason why Google does it. There's a reason why our consoles have been closed systems forever, right? From a business standpoint. But that's if your business model is based on the old way. That's if you're only concentrating on that specific piece of the pie, right? And again, the pie being all of the gaming industry. If you're only specifically focused, that's when the old ideas, right, matter the most in a closed system, like the exclusivity and that kind of stuff. And again, this is not me personally talking here. I wish I still want them to fight that way. I'm just talking from a satellite view, just kind of looking at the business side of things. When Microsoft and Xbox decide, and they already have from everything that's being said, if we're going to take everything at face value, they've already decided long ago that they were going to start shooting for a bigger piece of the pie. This comment or this article, whatever you want to say here, this paragraph that he's writing, he's looking at it the old way, but he's not. Again, this is what I was talking about earlier. They're never going to admit in these types of pieces or any other time when they're trying to slant a narrative that the industry itself is changing. And it's not just Phil and Xbox talking this way. It is others talking this way. That when you start looking at changing it to an open system, well, sure, if you were still trying to sell Xbox consoles exclusively to a certain group of people, you wouldn't want all these other people, you wouldn't want all these other storefronts in that system, which then in turn could mean that people could go to a Steam sale instead of the Xbox store. They could simply on your console switch over to the Steam side of things and find that game for $30 cheaper, plus give Steam a cut of that game profit as well, that purchase profit as well, from taking away from yourself. But that's not what Xbox is looking to do here. And again, this is where it gets very complicated. And this is what we were talking about last night, Mav, with contracts and what the kind of money would look like. This is where it gets very complicated. And this is why some people who have said it's not going to be as simple as Phil's just talking it and everything. All of a sudden they're going to be able to do this. That's not how it's going to work because of this situation, right? What games are going to be offered? Are you going to offer, like when we used to talk about if Xbox were to put Game Pass everywhere on PlayStation. Well, Sony's not going to let Xbox just put the full boat Game Pass. It's going to be a curated version of Game Pass because there would be third-party games that Sony would get a cut of off of their store if it was bought there that are available on Game Pass that they would just not allow because that would undercut their whole business model. So there's going to be some of that here. So I get what he's going for, but overall, it's not going. The slant he's taking here, it's not going to, from a consumer stand. This would only benefit the consumers. Let me make it easy, right? And I think other people have pointed this out. An open ecosystem would only benefit the consumer at the end of the day. And if that's what Microsoft chooses, because they think they can as we talked about last night, Mav, resurrect the Steam box in some way with the Xbox brand, and that's going to bring the Xbox brand out. And people buy these boxes because they are open, because they have the ability to go into all these different storefronts. Then ultimately Xbox is winning at the end of the day, because if all of a sudden this thing becomes a cool thing to have because of that feature, well, now you've got people playing on your hardware
that never would have before.
Would never have before, possibly, right? Never would have before. Your storefront is there alongside of it. You have offerings still that maybe these other storefronts don't have. People now have access to your storefront and go, oh, this Game Pass shit is pretty damn cool. Okay, I'm going to pay the monthly subscription fee. Or, oh, this game's available on Xbox's storefront, but isn't necessarily over here on Steam right now, or whatever the case may be. I'm going to invest here at Xbox. So that is where Xbox is looking, that the more they open up, and again, there's some regulatory stuff involved here too. They're looking at the future after the regulatory bodies get done breaking up Apple and Google, or attempting to, but especially the EU. The EU is getting away with a lot of different things right now. But let's say they actually break up Apple and Google. Well, what's going to stop them from turning their eyes to other closed storefronts like PlayStation, like Xbox, like Nintendo, and say, your turn, guys. Your turn to open up. Now, again, are they jumping the gun? Sure. You could say that they're ahead of the curve here. But I think ultimately their goal, since their plans are so much bigger, because they are looking into the future where really at some point we don't need the hardware anymore, and everything is going to be a subscription kind of base service, or at least that's what they think. And everything's going to be kind of open anyways. Everybody's going to be forced into this situation. They're just saying, why not go after the living room right now with a box that kind of does it all, if they go this way. And again, nobody's saying 100% for sure this is going to happen, because there's a lot involved. It gets very complicated. But I think from his standpoint, when he's writing this, he's thinking of the closed ecosystem. He's not giving credit to Microsoft and Xbox for the what they've been saying philosophically they are doing with their brand. And that's where this comes into play, when he writes something like this. Under the old terms, sure, you could say it kind of muddies the water, obviously, because it goes against everything that the old model said you should do. But for the consumer, options are great. Again, the consumer wins in that kind of world. That's why they're trying to break up Apple and Google, is because it's bad for the consumer.
It really,
right?
it really wouldn't be that much of a reach for Microsoft,
No.
right? Like as it would for Sony or Nintendo.
Correct.
Because that's what they're all about. But Microsoft's much bigger, and as far as the PC gaming side, that's the world they've been living in for a long time. Right.
Right. They know that side. They've been producing software forever in the PC side. And again, Windows is so dominant, they obviously understand that. Now they've got their own issues with the, Windows Store. Steam obviously blew them out of the water. I mean, they can't compete on that level. But again, offering it to more people to get people interested in your ecosystem by having other storefronts next to it as well, it could be a way in. Again, it differentiates you from everybody else. Yeah. It makes you stand out. It makes you get value. Like, people start to recognize that stuff is the thought process behind it. Not me personally. Again, I like the consumer benefits. I'm really intrigued if they do something like this. I said I'm all in on it. But at the end of the day, do I still wish that they were going after Sony and PlayStation the old way? Yeah, of course.
He goes on to say, taking former exclusives to rival platforms is yet more short-term thinking. Sure, it may pump the numbers a bit, but each new port is one less reason for a potential new customer to buy an Xbox, and one more reason for Xbox owners to switch sides and abandon the platform for good. Once again, I cannot see a way in which this ends with Xbox, as we know it today at least, getting stronger. Let us assume charitably. This is where this guy really starts going off the rails. The next couple paragraphs here. Let us assume charitably that Sea of Thieves sells 5 million copies at $40 a pop when it launches on PS5 next month. Let us even more charitably pretend that means $200 million in revenue for Microsoft, ignoring distribution and marketing, Sony's platform cut, and cost of making the port in the first place. This is also just completely ignoring the fact that Sea of Thieves is a games of service. Just saying. But anyway, Sony's platform cut and the cost of making the port in the first place. Last quarter, $200 million would have increased Microsoft's revenue by about 0.3%. That is merely a rounding error for a company that size, and where the health of its gaming division is concerned, it is a little more than a sticking plaster. To be clear, I feel bad for Spencer. He seems a decent sort. I think he's come in with the best of intentions, and in a parallel universe where every horse he backed romped home, he would be credited with transforming and perhaps even saving the gaming industry. And another where instead of spending $70 billion on Activision Blizzard, he spent it on 230 odd games with the same budget as Spider-Man 2. Perhaps Xbox is flying. But in our world, he has spent 10 years and gargantuan amounts of money, taking Xbox from third place to third place. And that is not the market's fault. It's the writing isn't on the wall for Xbox as a whole. Then it certainly could be for him. That is the end of the article. So basically, what this boils down to is Xbox is doomed to fail because of Phil Spencer and leading him down this path. And he feels bad for him because of all of his mistakes that he's made, wasting all of Microsoft's money along the way instead of making 230 Sony games. So I don't know, man.
So if Phil Spencer is failing so bad, why did a $2 trillion company give him 2 promotions in the last 5 years? Like,
yeah. And also acquire a $70 billion company.
yeah, why'd they trust him with
put it under his umbrella?
$0.1 trillion.
Then proceed to put Windows underneath that umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
The Surface
Who's
division under that umbrella.
Who's gonna make? Did he ever write in there who was gonna make those 230 games?
Nope.
Oh.
No, he didn't make that clear.
Okay.
Yeah,
like 343. Gonna
Yeah.
pump out like 50 titles.
but only if they had done that, we could be in a different world today. Maybe
They could have just money had at games, throw money at developers so they can steal it and make other
Oh,
games.
but then we would have the
Platinum Games.
articles. But then we would have the articles, right, Fuzzy?
Yeah.
That's bad, right? That's bad for business that Xbox is buying up 100 exclusives, right, over the next 5 years instead of buying Activision Blizzard, right? So, like, it's like we said, it's a no-win situation. They just, the damned if you do, damned if you don't. They throw out this stuff again. They never, like, I love this. Like, again, it's fine. Like Mav said, I've said this forever too. When I go on my media rants, everything is an opinion piece. Everything's an editorial. There is no real journalism anymore. But if you're going to do this kind of thing and you're going to go in and analyze somebody's, you're going to analyze their job performance, right? And you're going to throw out theory, right? What happened to journalists providing their own theories within this, like answering their question? Like, again, why are you going to throw out a number like, oh, simple math, you could have made 230 exclusive games for the same amount that you purchased Activision Blizzard for, but you're not going to turn around and acknowledge the fact that somebody has to make those 230 games and that you would have to go acquire more talent to even come close to making that type of output.
And that's the thing that drives me crazy, because
it's like
that what they fucking
bro,
did?
Right, that's what they did.
They
and
bought
that's what
all these developers and people and publishers. Guess what? To make fucking games. That's what the whole point is for them to make games, dude. It doesn't make any. What do they exist for? What do these companies exist for? How do they make their money?
No.
Right? No, they're just it's just magic
Xbox,
money that appears. They don't need to make anything.
Xbox should have organically grown 50 new studios. Right? Well, they should have organically grown the 50 new studios in the next 5 years, and then they could have all pumped out 4 games over the next 8 years, and you would have had 200 games for the same budget that you spent for Activision Blizzard, because that's realistic. That's totally realistic.
To the man behind the curtain,
bro.
It's all right
again, that's
when we do it. not when
This
you do
is
it.
the type of stuff, but again, most people that look at these types that read a lot of that stuff nowadays, again, this goes across the board. Any type of journalism these days. This is the type of bullshit that you get. But for the masses, a lot of people don't think critically anymore. They go to these places to be told what to think, right? Unfortunately, we have lost the ability in a lot of ways to critically think. Hence why so many people come on X and Twitter, why these places got so, because they want to know what's the thing that they need to be concerned about now. And then they want to know what they should be saying to sound like that they are actually reading the news and understanding the news. Like that's where our society is. So this is no different, but this is just garbage. This is, again, it's an editorial, it's an opinion. Everything is nowadays. You're fine. You're allowed to do this kind of stuff, but don't think that this is actually some deep, well thought out, meaningful piece at the end of the day, right? If you are actually going to think about this critically, it doesn't hold fucking any water. It never will. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, and they went for like surface level things that are just like things that everyone just throws out there, like PlayStation good, Xbox bad, just based on like numbers of console sales and things like that. It's like, if you really want to criticize Xbox, like, why don't we bring up like the question, like the main issue, in my opinion, like the things that worry me as like someone who does enjoy Xbox is like the management of their IP and their studios. Like that's something that could be a fair criticism, like the way that like the launch of Halo Infinite went, or like whatever happened with Redfall, and like them learning how to like the right amount of like balancing like the way that they have their actual studios operate, or even like the use of like contractors in video game development or microtransaction strategy. Like they could
Or
actually
waste
make
of
a
money.
point.
They waste so much
Yeah.
money, man. Like with canned
Like-
projects and stuff.
Right. They could make a point about things that are actual issues that should be talked about and brought up, but instead they're just sitting here making an Xbox bad, PlayStation good argument. Like it's so surface level that it's easy to look through, when like overall the business direction though, like I'll give Xbox the time to try and bring their vision to fruition, because at the end of the day, what they're telling us and what they're selling to us, they have been delivering on, in my opinion, from what they promised with Game Pass. It continues to get better. We continue to get more games into the service. Are all of them going to be 8 or 9s out of a 10 or and above? Like it would almost be impossible to have all of them end up perfect. And maybe it does have an impact on the way games are developed or how they're released, but overall throughout the industry, like all the other major publishers are releasing broken games and patching them later. Like it's just the way things are. But Microsoft being this major company and Xbox just not having the benefit of the doubt, because that's what everyone decided to buy 10 years ago because of the obvious fumble. Like I don't think any of this is not able to be returned from, and like it's just such a surface level like fanboy argument that like no one's thinking like constructively about this. Like my main problems with Sony is that like they're collecting money and they're trying to dictate the market, and they're bringing devices to the market that have nothing to do with what the way I want to play my games. And I don't want to just hand over all this money because I can't afford an extra system. I'd rather put money into my PC and also have an Xbox in my living room. But like they're not thinking of like the customers that could be reached, or they're thinking from like this base level tribalist like console war perspective, where they're not like, no one's even brought up the fact that if they open up the ecosystem and they do have, like, we want to speculate about having a gaming PC in your living room, how many PC primary gamers do you think might consider buying a console if they can play everything that they play right here, sitting on their couch and on their TV? Like, no, I don't think anyone's made that argument yet. So it's just such surface level things that they don't understand the business. And that's the reason why they feel the way they do, is because they don't take the time to understand the business. And that's why we have to sit here and shout from a mountaintop, because like we're trying to get people to understand that some of these things are good for the industry overall. Like not everything, like I'm not going to give them a blank check, but I'm going to let them cook, you know?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's again, like I just think there's a basic misunderstanding about what the market is overall.
Right.
Like it's not just like
Or where
gaming
it's
is
going.
much bigger than just consoles, right? And also the future. If you've seen the projections, all those kind of things about where the industry's going, about the growth in the other spaces and stuff, the console's been stagnant for a long time, and it's going to maintain while other parts are growing still more rapidly. And like they're looking at things big picture wise, not just beating PlayStation and Nintendo, right?
And
And
you know who has the money and the market experience to research all these things and learn from all their different business segments that they have had over the last like 30 years? Like
right,
I definitely don't think Sony does.
it's
Well,
like
that's the other point that's ignored, Bob. Too, to kind of off of your point there, is that they ignore. Everybody says, "Well, ask Nintendo and ask PlayStation how the console market is." First of all, Nintendo does everything, makes money, and they use old tech and they make super cheap games that sell millions. The old model still works for them, but PlayStation, ask PlayStation, even if you flip flop, let's say Xbox, again, to Phil's point and to what they're talking about here. Let's say they flip flop the entire market, okay, and they become number one in console, and they get the 100, let's say 100 million, right? Let's say they get 100 million, 100 to 120 million consoles sold. The cost to get there, ask Sony how that's going for them. That's their problem right now. The cost to get there with basically, not all, but basically one genre of game, right? If you're going to call it a genre, the third person heavy narrative game. Look what it's cost them to get that success. And are they shouting from the rooftops that everything's fine? That they're good to go? They're going to continue to do what they've always done? No, they're saying the opposite. So the argument that, oh, but if Xbox really did do all exclusives, they could change the market, which I agree with. They certainly could. Again, I never liked Phil waving the white flag. I thought that was a terrible moment. But the facts are the facts. Would they be talking any differently? Would they be happy? Would they be satisfied? Would Microsoft Corporation be happy that, oh, we're number one in consoles. We spent all this money, made these great exclusive games, but our games sold just like Sony's exclusives sold. And at the end of the day, that isn't sustainable. So will we still be in the same boat where they're talking about going bigger like Sony is now? I think we would be. The difference is they had to start planning for this long ago. They did start planning for it. They invested heavily in the back end stuff to make this transition. They created Game Pass to try a different way. They did all this extra work because they were in third place. So the only thing that would happen would be the roles would be reversed. Right? That's the only thing that would happen. Sony would have been forced to make changes earlier or to start thinking about things differently. So at the end of the day, the console market, to your point, Mav, yes, profit-wise, revenue-wise, has grown, right? Because of price increases in the games, because of microtransactions, because of battle passes, because of stuff like that. So the revenue has grown. But the percentages, right? The console market has grown at like 2-3% overall as far as a player base goes. So if that's the case and you're looking at that long term and you're projecting out 10, 15, 20 years, and you're also seeing tech change and you're seeing the upcoming generations not give a shit about the consoles as much as we do, well, then what are you going to do? Say everything's going to be fine? We don't have to prepare for that inevitability when all of a sudden our player base, our older player base starts getting really old and their buying power goes down, and all of a sudden these younger kids are looking at different stuff. No, you're not going to do that. Otherwise, you're going to die off. And so, again, I understand. Like I said, me personally, I'd still be fighting and scrapping and trying to put PlayStation under the ground if I was the head of Xbox, right? I'm the old school way. But you'd still be looking at the future, and you'd still be having to make these changes. Maybe not all of them right now, but you would still have to be thinking that at some point, We have to go after a bigger piece of the pie. And how are we going to get there? That would automatically shift the focus from the consoles only to some of these other options that we hear Xbox talking about and that we hear smoke is being internally developed.
Yeah.
It's just, again, a lot of these arguments fall apart when you start digesting them and projecting out into what the future of this industry look like. Consoles are still cool. Consoles are still sold very well. There's still a great player base there and a fan base there that you can make money off of exclusives. You can do great things in the console space. There's no denying that. But for how much longer? For how much longer? And with the budgets being the way they are, really, at the end of the day, is it sustainable? It's not. And everybody's admitting that, including PlayStation.
Including PlayStation. And
yeah.
So, T Meng Fu in the chat earlier said Xbox doesn't dictate the market; it's struggling to survive. Yeah, a lot of things dictate the market, not just Microsoft, for sure. But also, you're really wrong, bro. Xbox is not struggling to survive. They literally just bought a $70 billion publisher. Like,
That's struggling, Mav.
they're
The writing's on the wall, you
but-
guys.
but-
It's time for us to pack this shit up.
like they,
I'm buying.
so
I'm buying a PlayStation.
I want to.
tomorrow.
We just read that article, right? I want to breeze through this next one, okay? Like, I know we stopped a lot and all this kind of stuff, but I want to breeze through this real quick because this is actual numbers here. This is from somebody that's not an opinion type, like talking about where their heart is, about where they think the industry is, all this kind of stuff. This is about pure dollars and investors and market, right? This is what Microsoft looks at. This is what the backbone of why they make these decisions and all these kind of things.
Before
right?
we dive into numbers, I had like a side thing that I've been thinking about as far as Nintendo goes. If you don't mind, I'm sorry, but like people act like where Xbox is and where it's been since like the Xbox One generation is like such a position that's like unable to be recovered from. But look at Nintendo where they are today with the Switch and compare that with where they were between 2012 and 2017 when the Switch came out. They literally sold less than 20 million Wii U's.
Yeah.
They're on top of the world for the Wii, and they literally were at rock
People
bottom.
were so down on Nintendo with the Wii U, bro. Yeah.
Like literally Nintendo was about to go third party. And they removed themselves from the running in 2006 when they released the Wii, and it was massively successful. But they've dictated their own lane and they recovered from it. But like I feel like that applies. That's a thought I've been bouncing around for a while now. So I feel like it does apply to the numbers. And when you think about this, and it's like Xbox still like up until the very end of like the 360 and PlayStation 3 generation, they were outselling PlayStation 3. And just because PlayStation sold more at the very end, in your second iteration of a console to be selling just as many or like being less than 5 million or 10 million less than like the PlayStation 3, I can't remember what the actual numbers are. Like, I don't feel like it should be so easy to count them out, especially not when it's literally backed by Microsoft.
And I think like a lot of people like Xbox and Xbox is dying. Like, no, the Xbox is fine. The thing that I think is the reality of the situation, right? Of what's happening, the transition, changing of the models, all this kind of stuff. I think the idea of what Xbox is or has been is dying, right?
Mhm.
I think that is transitioning and evolving into something else and something that is much bigger and crazier than a lot of people think about. Because for the longest time, Xbox was a box, right? It was a box, a platform. You buy a box, you buy games on it. They have already started moving away from that last generation, and even more drastically so now, right? And when we talked about ABK and the acquisition there, I've been calling that a transformational acquisition since the start. Because when you go as a company and buy something that's almost the same size, maybe as you are as a publisher at least, and talking about revenue-wise and all that kind of stuff, you are bringing on something that is transforming your business, right? It's not just additive. It is transformational. And as Xbox as a whole, is transforming right now before our eyes. And maybe the idea of what everybody had about what Xbox was, maybe that's what's dying. Instead, it's evolving to something else, and we'll have to see what eventually that is. But is Xbox in trouble? No. And they are dictating where the future is going. And I'm sorry if anybody does not see that, but they're 6 years ahead on a lot of things when it comes to the business of video games and the models. And that's why you see PlayStation trying to catch up to a lot of this stuff now, because they're like, oh shit mode. We need games as a service games. We need multiplayer stuff. We need microtransactions. We need to be on PC. We need to do all this other stuff that Microsoft started doing way back last generation, right? If it was all just about being successful, about having a box and just selling a game on a box, and that's what our model, Nintendo's got that, right? PlayStation has not succeeded like they want to in that space, and that's why they're transforming themselves again. Hargeet Chaney hits with a $10 super chat, says, if Xbox does this right, next gen console should just play native Windows games published to Microsoft Store. It's on Xbox. Plug in Steam, etc. You have all the games on Xbox. Every Win 12 PC or laptop is Xbox. Yeah, it could be the future, man. It could be that big open ecosystem. I think the key is the OS, how smooth and easy experience it feels, right? Steam has kind of nailed it with the Steam Deck. We'll see where they go there in the future, but like there's potential, and that might be what happens, right? And that's what we talked about before. Like I'm really curious to see like what that next thing looks like, you know?
And at the end of the day, I gotta again ask everybody, if you really think about it, if you are in this hobby because you just love game, Xbox is not going anywhere. Your library will continue to be supported. At the end of the day, they are still going to be producing game. Does it really, honestly, in your heart of hearts as a gamer, matter where you're playing the game? Does it matter how you're playing the game? Like, I understand validating your purchase. I understand the investment that everybody's made, because I've made that investment too. But because we can all agree, or most of us can agree, that Xbox is not going anywhere. In fact, it's stronger than it ever has been before, right? And that they're going to continue to support all the systems that they have now set up to allow us to play games wherever we are.
They're fundamental aspects of this ecosystem.
They're tripling down. At the end of the day, does it matter? Are you going to think if this happens and this all goes down, and let's say it all works out, and we have this box that allows us to jump into all these other storefronts, and including PlayStation games being on Steam at that time, and then you pop up whatever new PlayStation exclusive through your Xbox, are you going to think any less of that game just because it's Sony and you're playing it on your Xbox? No, you're going to be smiling from ear to ear more than likely if it's a game that you've been looking forward to playing. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is the games. And again, Xbox is not going anywhere. Sorry, I'm going off on tangents.
No, man. It's like, it's been a fun show, because like this is like interesting with all the conversations that have been brought up today, seeing about Phil and his 10 years, where Xbox is versus where it's not, all the concern going on right now and all this kind of stuff. But I just want to get to some numbers here and some projections from actual people that are jobs are to do this kind of stuff, right? So this is from Seeking Alpha, right? It's a market type website, that investor type thing, you know, the projections looking at things from the industries and all that kind of stuff, not just about gaming, but multiple things. Microsoft 2024 Outlook, why I think gaming is underappreciated. And this was back in January. So this is not a this month article, but it's still relevant because nothing's really changed here, right? Microsoft's finalized buyout of Activision Blizzard marks a significant reorientation towards vertical integration in the gaming sector, positioning Microsoft as the third largest gaming company globally. Now that's including Apple and Google and all these things that make money off of app stores and all that kind of stuff, right? The acquisition enhances Microsoft's gaming portfolio with high caliber franchises and bolsters its competitive stance in a market forecasted to grow to $665 billion by 2030. Microsoft's gaming division is poised to be a significant growth driver, potentially adding approximately $406 billion to the company's market capitalization. New developments from CES and a new Xbox offer catalysts for the company to realize this. Investment thesis, Microsoft 2024 outlook. Gaming is underappreciated. Microsoft has finally finalized buyout of Activision Blizzard, pegged at 68.7, marks a launch point in the technology's giant gaming strategy, presenting what I believe to be a compelling, underappreciated investment thesis for 2024 and going forward. This acquisition, which secured Microsoft's approximately 8.3% of the global gaming market share, is not just an expansion, but a significant reorientation towards vertical integration in the gaming sector, providing huge benefits to Microsoft. The acquisition bolsters Microsoft's gaming portfolio with high-caliber franchises, enhancing its competitive stance in a market forecasted to grow to $665 billion by 2030. The optimistic outlook is not perfect, however. Global gaming is only projected to grow only 2.5% in 2024, with this heightened competition from resilient competitors like Sony highlighted an extremely competitive market landscape. Even with this, I remain bullish, and I think this is an underappreciated part of the Microsoft story. I believe their gaming division is poised to be a significant growth driver, with its valuation potentially adding approximately $406 billion to the company's market cap. As the gaming industry continues to evolve, Microsoft's adaptive strategies and innovative approaches will be key to harnessing the full potential of its gaming division in 2024 and beyond. I'm bullish on the company and the stock. I think it's a strong buy. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard is a transformative move for its gaming division, catapulting the company into a powerful position within the video game software publishing industry. This deal, which gives Microsoft an estimated additional 8.3% market share in the gaming industry, is a significant step forward towards vertical integration in the gaming sector. While I wrote about Microsoft recently, I totally missed the upside potential here. And with recent releases see below, I believe this is a great time to dive in. By acquiring Activision Blizzard, Microsoft has significantly expanded its gaming studio portfolio. This encompasses a range of developers under Activision Blizzard, including Activision Publishing, Blizzard Entertainment, and King, the creator of the hit mobile game Candy Crush. The acquisition also includes rights to prominent franchises like Overwatch, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, StarCraft, Crash Bandicoot, and the immensely popular Call of Duty. The acquisition also has broader implications, such as the potential impact on Xbox Game Pass. Analysts anticipate that this move will bolster the Game Pass library with a vast back catalog and future releases from Activision Blizzard, thereby potentially increasing its attractiveness and subscriber base. The deal faced regulatory headwinds, but closed on October 13th last year. This delay resulted in a delay in integration of the two firms, but now the merger is back on plan. In essence, however, Microsoft has only in the last quarter started to realize the benefits. With the kickoff of 2024, Microsoft has doubled down to enhancing the gaming landscape. The introduction of next-generation Windows 11 gaming PCs unveiled at CES and developed in collaboration with various PC partners marks a substantial step forward in gaming technology. Microsoft's partner PCs feature cutting-edge advancements, including the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 40 series GPUs with DLSS 3.5 technology and NVIDIA Advanced Optimus, providing a significant boost in performance and AI-powered graphic capabilities. What's key about this is the first major gaming PC announcement since the Activision acquisition closed. Remember, they could not integrate Activision while the deal was pending antitrust review. So this is one of the first product launches with the acquisition under one roof. Similarly, Microsoft is planning a significant refresh for its Xbox Series X console in 2024. Codenamed Brooklyn, Microsoft is expected to feature an all-new design along with doubling the console's storage capacity to 2 terabytes, along with improving wireless and Bluetooth capabilities. The refreshed console aims to provide an enhanced gaming experience, aligning with the latest design trends and promising a more sustainable gaming solution. To emphasize again, this will be the first major console refresh with Activision Blizzard under the same roof. This is likely where we will see the first synergies to the console division. Finally, Activision's former CEO left the company on December 29th. This is significant because this marks the beginning of the official Microsoft integration, when we should start to see talent synergies from this acquisition. For example, once Mr. Kotick left, most of the remaining leadership from Activision started to report to Matt Booty, president, Microsoft Games Content and Studios. Booty was recently promoted to his position in October once the deal closed. So it says, now that the deal closed, what is the potential upside? The closure of Microsoft's Activision Blizzard finalized in October marks the beginning of a pivotal moment for Microsoft's expansion in the gaming sector. This positions Microsoft as the third largest gaming company, trailing only behind Sony and Tencent. So technically, they are third place, but not behind Nintendo. It's Tencent and Sony, and you're talking about revenue in the gaming space. While the gaming market forecasted to grow to over $655 billion by 2030, Microsoft's expanded capabilities and resources place it in a strong position to capitalize on this growth. You mean because they have the $70 billion company they acquired, they're actually stronger, not weaker, guys? This is crazy. In the gaming space, I thought they were in trouble. I thought they were like in trouble. Xbox is like, you know, they're struggling.
They're not surviving.
Struggling.
They're struggling.
Sky's falling.
Maybe they're confusing that with Bungie. I don't know. Activision and Bungie used to be together, but you know, Bungie's struggling. But
Yeah.
you know, that's a whole nother story.
So confused, right? As a reminder, the deal faced significant regulatory scrutiny due to its potential impact on the cloud gaming market. With this, Microsoft agreed to sell the streaming rights of Activision games to Ubisoft Entertainment, ensuring the availability of these titles on non-Windows operating systems for 15 years. This concession was key to satisfying antitrust regulators' concerns and securing approval for the deal. So while Microsoft will not be able to use these games as a sole source marketing campaign yet to sell more hardware sales, like the new Xbox or new gaming PCs, I am sure there will be new and exclusive features only available on the Microsoft-hosted versions of Activision's titles. Microsoft's internal documents have indicated an ambitious target for its gaming revenue, aiming to reach $36 billion by 2030. Man, that's crazy that they would have internal documents with those kind of projections on it when they're like just so doomed to fail. I don't know.
They're getting out of the business in 2027. Don't you remember?
Yeah, they're not going to
Well,
last
shop.
5 more years, right? They can't. Xbox's brand is dying. However, I believe the figure may seem conservative, given the rapid expansion of the gaming industry and Microsoft's strengthened position post-acquisition. In my opinion, there are a couple ways to value Microsoft's gaming division, particularly in the wake of its Activision Blizzard acquisition. Microsoft's gaming revenue for the fiscal year 2023 was $15.47 billion, a slight decrease from the previous year. However, the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, valued at $68.7, significantly enhances Microsoft's position in the gaming market, particularly in mobile gaming. Taking this revenue and applying the company-wide to sales to it gives us a division forward market cap valuation of $181.92 billion. However, this does not consider the incremental revenue that Activision will provide. Keep in mind that the gaming market is expected to grow from $249.55 billion in 2022 to $665.77 billion in 2030. Taking the spread of growth here, we get a market expansion of $416.22 billion. Assuming that Microsoft maintains the same 8.3% market share Activision has, I think this could even increase this year with the new console allowing them to be a catalyst to gain more market share. This implies $34.54 billion in the new annual revenue. Considering this and applying the forward price to sales multiple of 11.676 billion to the projected gaming revenue, we can estimate a potential valuation bump to Microsoft of approximately $406.26 billion from Microsoft's gaming division alone. This implies 14.2% upside to Microsoft's market cap. Share buybacks will only increase the upside potential here, in my opinion. While this estimate is for 2030 revenue, I think this is a conservative estimate in that it does not include the revenue Activision brings in now, no new market share like I think will happen, and no new incremental hardware sales from Xbox because it has an even better suite of games on it because of the acquisition. Takeaway, Microsoft's strategic maneuvers in the gaming industry through the acquisition of Activision Blizzard represent a significant growth opportunity that I think will come into view in 2024. While the gaming industry's growth rate predicted to be modest this year in comparison to previous years, give me pause. I think Microsoft has a unique trick up their sleeve with respect to the new Xbox rollout. With a potential marginal market valuation of approximately $406 billion from the gaming division alone, it stands as an unprecedented asset within Microsoft's diverse portfolio. I like where the company is going, leveraging with bleeding edge tech and other places I have written on, like AI and with Bing, to dominate new market gaming. I think the stock is a strong buy. I just read that, so are we still
Yeah,
I get
Xbox
it.
are we
dead.
still worried? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Where we
I
sitting?
mean,
I'm scared.
people that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Psycho.
No. I was just being joking. I was
Get in
making-
there, Fuzzy.
I was going to
Yes.
say, like, from a financial standpoint, like, if you're an analyst looking at where the money is, apparently Xbox and Microsoft are doing pretty damn good. I don't know. All this doom and gloom doesn't make sense, or dollars or add up, or math ain't mathing. So
I think you listen to Phil, and sometimes he's talking about the industry as a whole and why they're making some of these decisions and stuff. And I think like he's trying to explain things. You know what I mean? And that's like a short-term things. You know what I mean? That he's trying to explain and why they're doing some of the decisions. But ultimately, you look at the grand scheme of things, like what everything they've done so far means. Like you talk about the legacy of Phil Spencer. I'll tell you when we will know what the actual legacy of Phil Spencer is, and that's in about probably 5 to 10 years. That's when we'll really be able to sit here and be like, this is what this guy really accomplished in gaming. Because I think in the next 5-10 years, what this Xbox ecosystem becomes, we probably can't even comprehend right now. Just like 10 years ago, I couldn't comprehend the shit I can do now on Xbox. I couldn't comprehend the cloud gaming. I couldn't comprehend the cross-buy on PC, Game Pass as a model for buying or for playing games. Couldn't comprehend any of that stuff. None of that stuff existed. The moves sometimes that they make today don't really necessarily make sense to traditionalists and to the stuff that we all know has been the model for gaming for the last 20 years, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to. We'll see how it plays out. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm not fucking worried at all. And anybody out there that is, that's cool. Go ahead and be concerned and shit. But I will say the concern and the trolling and all this other kind of shit and the negativity does way more damage to the industry and to the games and to everything than some of the decisions that these companies are making. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Based on that, just anybody got any quick thoughts on market predictions and stuff like that for Xbox?
I think one thing I want to say is, like, if you look at it, like, Phil Spencer has been in charge of Xbox gaming for 10 years. Like, if he's messing up that bad, like, why why has he been in charge of Xbox for so long? Like, compared to, like, how many other heads of Xbox were there in the previous 10 years? Like, it's only been around since 2001. We only have like 2 decades of Xbox. Like, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon until he retires. It doesn't look like. Like, I feel like that alone should speak volumes. Like I was saying before, like, why does Microsoft keep promoting him and giving him more power and more money if he's doing such a bad job, or if, like, the financial analysts, the people who are looking at the money, like, look at it as like a positive for, like, Microsoft stock as a whole. Like, I think that in and of itself is an accomplishment, especially in any technology industry. Like, to have that position or be in charge of something for so long, like, you don't really get that as even like a CEO of a company or a division or a business. Like, the staying power in and of itself, and the way he's guided the ship of Xbox is that says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, man. Like, I think ultimately, I look at where we're at now with Xbox compared to where we were. Is it better for me? Damn right it is. Like, fuck, I couldn't imagine 10 years ago getting and shit and having the roadmap that we do for Xbox. Like, you would not have been able to get me to say that was going to be the future. Like, all these games that they've announced, all these studios, and I get to play them in a subscription service that I can play on my fucking PC, that I can play on my console, that could potentially even play on a handheld, right? And all these other kind of things. And that if I decide to buy it, I can buy it, and I also get to play on all those kind of things, right? All of that, I never would have been able to tell you that that was the position that in 10 years where they were then, that's where they were going to be. And that they would have Activision fucking Blizzard in that Call of Duty was going to be a part of that Diablo was going to be a part of that all of the games from all of these companies that they've acquired, ZeniMax, fucking Bethesda, if you were to tell me they were going to own fucking the games that are coming out from Todd Howard Studios and the rest of ZeniMax Bethesda, and include like Doom and shit like that. You would have told me that was going to be a reality. Like, you're fucking crazy, man. That's not going to happen. Then you add ABK into that, StarCraft, fucking. Now we got Indiana Jones and Blade and games coming like that. All of these studios, and that's not even touching on the individual, just random ones that we know have been working on games for years now. There is no fucking way 10 years ago I could have looked at where they were and said that is the future of Xbox. And for anybody that was around then playing games on Xbox, standing here today saying that it's a fucking worse experience than back then, when we have all this shit to look forward to in the ecosystem that we have now, you are completely full of shit. And you honestly don't fucking know what you're talking about. Because you are not paying attention to the shit that matters. All you care about is fucking trophies for your console war. And that's it. Anyway. Pong, any thoughts on the market prediction? Just
No, it's all stuff we knew.
Yeah.
I've said my piece tonight. Again, the numbers are always the numbers. The money is the money.
They don't lie. I mean, it's a prediction, but there's real factual information there. You know what I mean? Like, it's
people will downplay that and say that doesn't, again, and there's an argument to be made that, yeah, that's why Phil has kept his position, because he's been profitable for Microsoft and he's proven some of his points to work out. And not everybody's going to agree that big companies like Microsoft being involved with even investments is a good thing for the industry. There's going to be a lot of people that argue against it, that's a reason why a lot of people believe stagnation has happened in the gaming industry. I'm on your side, Mav. Again, I never thought a day would come when I would have what I have in gaming right now, on a platform like Xbox with Game Pass. And I'm going to ride the wave until it's no longer valuable to me, until it's no longer beneficial to me. They could screw it all up. They certainly could, right? Certainly possible. We've seen it. All these companies could screw it all up, right? We could have a collapse in the industry, but I've said many, many times, it won't be until the day that gaming is no longer fun that I leave this hobby. Yeah. So if I can play a game, if there's one game made and I have access to that game and it brings me joy in my life, I will be playing a game. All right. That's how much I love this industry. At the end of the day, that's what it's about for me. But the numbers, the investment, everybody saw, you can always go look that up, whether you're an investor, whether you're a numbers person, whether you're not, you can go look up all the different signs that pointed that the Activision Blizzard deal, the investment that Xbox or Microsoft has made into Xbox and the gaming division has been received with mostly positive results from the numbers guys, right? And gals. That has not changed. That has actually increased. So those numbers don't surprise me in the least. And it's nothing but up from here, man. For sure.
I think ultimately we're pretty much all in agreement with this stuff, right? Yeah. 10 years, Phil Spencer, man.
10 more years.
More and more importantly, Jez confirmed today that World's Edge greenlit a new project, Mav. So too early to get details, but World's Edge is working on a game. So another RTS on the way, brother.
Love it, man. If they announce a collaboration now with Relic for that, because Relic just split off from Sega, let's go. Because you're talking about a cream of the crop RTS developer out there. Who knows what they're working on, but it would make sense. It would make a lot of sense. They're
reviving StarCraft. Saying.
It's like
Yes.
Xbox alone will have multiple RTS franchise. It has multiple RTS franchises now. It's fucking great.
As a non-RTS player, like StarCraft is probably the one RTS that I would really want to try, to be
Yeah.
Of
honest.
course. Can't wait. I can't wait till that announcement's made.
Yeah.
Xbox buys Relic.
I think they're done acquiring, honestly, Psycho. I think that went the way of with the regulatory bodies. I think that's why we haven't heard any. We all guessed that they were in for a fight, but I don't think that even Microsoft's attorneys expected the fight that they got.
Yeah.
And so I think they cooled to even smaller. I think that's why we haven't heard about Crystal Dynamics or Certain Affinity or any of these studios that make so much sense. And there was a lot of smoke around prior to ABK being announced. I think they're going to wait to see how the political situation plays out and how some of the EU rulings and stuff go over the next couple years before they jump back into that. Now, could they do something small under $1 billion? I can't remember what's the mark. Fuzzy, do you remember what's the mark for regulatory action review?
For US, it's really low. It's like 180 or 190 mil.
Yeah.
Outside of US, it varies, but I don't think 400 or 500 mil is going to be a issue.
No. I mean, could they do it? I think yes, but I just think that we're not going to hear anything for a while.
Yeah.
I thought for sure it was going to fire right back up again, but
I think it more so just the way the market is with gaming space right now is
That
also
too.
having like they don't want to add to it.
Well, they don't want to buy somebody and then have more layoffs,
Yeah.
right? And keep doing that shit too. So
I think they may have made some purchases of private companies.
possible.
There was kind of like that smoke with what do you call them? The ones that's doing another RTS, Aura.
Oh yeah,
Oxide.
Yeah, they could have been required.
yeah, because there was
possible.
that comment, Aaron Greenberg's comment
Yeah.
on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. The way they
Yeah,
talk
maybe.
about it too, and also with their technology that they're working on, there would be some reasons there. Like there's possibilities within that for sure. Oh man, well this was a fun show, guys. Thanks for hanging out and just talking about Phil and Xbox, and not really much else to talk about, but we still found a way to go over 3 fucking hours. Bob, thanks for joining in on the show, man. Appreciate you being here as always, dude. Tell everybody where they can find your streams and your content.
Game Pass Dad on every platform. Always a pleasure to jump in, even if it has to be late on some nights, and talk about the future of Xbox. I think it's looking bright, and Xbox is bringing us games where we want to play them and listening to us still, or the consumer for the time being. So I'm excited about that. But I stream on Twitch and I say things on Twitter. And I also make videos on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all under Game Pass Dad. Shoot me a follow, send me a message. Come hang out while we play through Oblivion and other RPGs lately is what I've been up to. And look forward to having many more great conversations here on Fridays and whenever else I can stop in. Thank you guys always for listening to my brain droppings.
Your brain droppings. Love it.
Stole that one from Carlin.
Yeah. Fuzzy Belvedere, where can everybody listen to your rambles and rants?
You got my tagline.
I got it, man.
No, it's been awesome being on here with you guys. Thanks to everybody that showed up in the chat as well. Love interacting with you guys, and I guess I should have like power-ups for like glasses, or if I put on a cap or something like that for the chat. But
you became 8% more serious. It happened.
No, but this was awesome time with you guys, and for those that want to hear my rambles and rants, just follow me on that app that was formerly called Twitter at @fuzzy_Belvedere. You can see me, Pong, and PTK Blam tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on PTK Blam's channel, 8 p.m. on Pixelated Echoes with me and 3-Bit at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think we may have K Asante for that one. And then right back here for FSP on Monday at 10 a.m. I'm not 10 a.m., 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on this channel. Hope to see you guys there. Thanks again.
Thanks, Fuzz. Appreciate you as always, bro. Real quick, I had missed this. Alvin hit us with a $5 super chat. I want to make sure I get this. Appreciate you as always, Alvin. Absolutely amazing. It says two things. One, the news today reveals there is powerful punditry at work recently. I gotta love the pundits. Absolutely. Two, Borderlands 4 confirmed. Randy Pitchford is Lasan Al Ghaib from Dune. Yeah. Borderlands 4, let's go. I'm ready for it. I liked 3. I know a lot of people didn't like 3 comparatively to 2. I fucking had a blast with it. I thought it was still a really fun game to play. So I'm ready for 4, man. I wonder if Kevin Hart will be Roland in Borderlands 4. No?
Gotta retcon that one.
Yeah, Kate
Let's hope
Blanchett. It could be. Let's have the skins for the movie characters. Let's go.
Let's do full motion video.
Yeah, FMV Borderlands.
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah.
trippy, bro. No more cell shading. Just go full FMV.
As much as I like the idea of Jack Black Claptrap, I also hate the idea of Jack Black Claptrap.
Yeah.
Like I just want their regular voice.
Yeah, that's like it's a robot, so you could have just cast the voice
Why? Yeah.
actor.
Why do that?
Yeah. Names. I think Randy.
It's Randy.
Sales.
Who knows? what'll
Randy
happen.
wanted some cool friends, man. So he went out there and he wanted to be on set hanging out with Jack Black. I think that's what it is. He wanted to do some lines with him.
Oh.
I mean
We're gonna make a bunch of
verbal
money.
lines. I meant
Yeah.
verbal lines like
yeah,
a
it
script.
sounds more like they want to
Yeah,
do some
like they're
lines,
reading the
some money.
lines. That's what I meant. I wasn't talking about the other kind of line. You guys, come on.
Calm down,
Not
Scarface.
Randy, especially not Jack. Psycho, where can everybody find you, bro?
Chat, thank you for coming out. Minus the knuckleheads, but you guys can find me everywhere on social media. Psychonauts everywhere. Find me Mondays on FSP when I'm not opening and closing or closing and opening.
Yeah.
Life kind of fucking hits me in the head sometimes, but yeah. And then Fridays always on Xbox Ultimate. And you all have a great night and play some Xbox and fuck the noise.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Psycho. Lucid Psycho really looks down on
I wasn't gonna say it out loud.
Lucid Psycho.
Psycho was with it when I was listening earlier.
Yeah, he was,
crushing it.
man. You can tell when he's not on his stuff. You know?
Yeah, I didn't go for a smoke break.
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
That's
Hey,
good.
you do whatever. Live your truth.
He,
brother.
he wasn't
You're
hanging
always
out
great.
on the set of Borderlands 4 tonight. Or Borderlands
Exactly.
He wasn't
Yeah.
running lines with Jack Black and Randy Pitchford in the
Yeah,
bathroom before.
Yeah.
got those rails.
Pong, where can everybody
Oh.
find you, sir?
Hey,
Yeah, great night, guys. Great to be here with you brothers for sure. Awesome to hear everybody's thoughts tonight. Chat, you guys were absolutely incredible again. Looking at some of the conversations going on, I love how you guys keep up with us, and again, even have your own side conversations. Again, we really have cultivated one hell of a community around here, and nothing but love and respect to all of you for giving us your time and being a part of the show. So thank you for being here. And of course, you guys know the drill by now. Pong Soul on X, formerly known as Twitter. Pong Soul on Xbox. Pong Soul on Steam as well. And obviously, tomorrow morning, you know the drill. In just about 9 hours, we will be getting live, raw, and uncut on Living Split Screen. Myself, my brother from another Steel Rain, 4+ hours. It doesn't matter how light the news is. You know how we like to talk. So we'll probably be going, unless one of us has got something going on, from the morning until the afternoon, or maybe, depending on where you are in the world, from the afternoon to the early evening hours. So join us there tomorrow morning, Living Split Screen, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Set the alarms right now. Be ready for that. And then tomorrow night, like Fuzzy said, got to join us over on PTK, Blam's channel, for the Shop Podcast, the one and only Shop Podcast. Blam, Fuzzy, myself, we usually have guests show up. Blam has not announced any guests, which usually means he'll put up the bat signal, and we'll have some surprise guests coming on through. But it's a chill way to end your Saturday night while you're playing games. Have us on in the background. Got a great community going there, so jump in the chat if you want to. It's an awesome time on the Shop Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Again, the Shop Podcast. Next week, it starts all over again. Of course, Tuesdays, I'm not there, but it doesn't matter. Double Barrel Gaming is a channel. Mr. Boomstick is the man. All Good Things Green every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. And my brother Steele is now on panel when he can be. So join in for those awesome conversations every Tuesday. But my podcasting week starts Thursday right here next week. PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM had a great show last night. With Mav, we had a lot of good conversations going there. So check us out every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. We did start late last night, but normally it's 7 p.m., 6 o'clock Central. So be there for PM to PM, and then God willing, back here next Friday for another episode of Xbox Ultimate with the family right here. Listen, y'all, it's the golden age of gaming. Dragon's Dogma 2 patch has launched on PC and PlayStation and will be shortly. Obviously, certification on Xbox takes a little bit longer, but it's coming to Xbox. They took out the ray tracing so you can get some better frames over there, patch some things in. You can actually create a new save file to start a new game as well. So they are doing what they said they would do. So get out there. Please enjoy the golden age, man. Play what you love. Love what you play, even if it's not Dragon's Dogma 2. And I'm going to talk to you all real soon. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Mav, get us out of here, bro.
Appreciate you, man. Everybody, audio listeners, appreciate you as well. Hey, leave a review on audio if you like the content. Got caught up finally on the episodes there. And also, if you do like here on YouTube, hit the like button, share it out, sub, notification bell, all that kind of cool stuff, just that it kind of helps us. But even if you don't do all that stuff, I appreciate anybody here who just stops by and gives us a second of your time to check us out. And we'll be live Monday for Fun Speculation Podcast, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Back on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for PM in the PM, like Pong Soul said. And then every Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time here on Xbox Ultimate Podcast. Because Xbox ain't going anywhere. So we aren't either. Peace.
Bye.